Hello everyone, thanks for joining us for week 13 of the DKMR Invitational. I'm your host, Kobayashi Maru, and this week we have a brand new challenger from Team Curse. It's none other than Darkwony. And he's going to be facing off against two DKMR pros tonight in a best of 5 and a best of 7. And I'm joined by Disciple, who'll be casting alongside of me. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. I'm excited to be back once again. This is my third week in a row casting, and these tournaments have been so much fun. I'm really excited to see what we have in store tonight.
Yeah, we have a great night of games for you. As I mentioned, it's a best of 5, then a best of 7 against a real solid pro that most people who are familiar with the scene know. He's got a great reputation, and I think he's going to make for some really good matches tonight. Darkwony will be competing first against DKMR Kisstafer in a best of 5, and then if he's able to take down Kisstafer, he'll collect $25 and face our reigning champion DTwo in a best of 7 for an additional $300. And these are two formidable pros. They've both been competing in the Invitational since the very beginning. DTwo is really hot right now. He's taken out everybody left and right, and Kisstafer always seems to be in that best of 5 spot. He's really one of those players that's very consistent, very strong, and he knows how to play his decks very well.
Absolutely. I think that both of these DKMR players are definitely not to be underestimated, but Darkwony has been around for a very long time on the Hearthstone pro scene. I know that my first exposure to him was really my first exposure to the Hearthstone competitive scene in general, which was the ESGN Fight Night, which he had multiple showings at, definitely had a solid performance there, and has been around in the tournament scene for a very long time. So seeing Darkwony here at this DKMR Invitational is definitely exciting. I think that he's going to give both of our DKMR defenders a run for their money, but I think D2, who has won each of his last 3 matches over the past 2 weeks, is going to definitely have a lot to show us, because he's just time and time again come out with some really strong wins with what I've been impressed with are his Shaman and Druid decks. And
just as a note, Darkwony's teammate, Alchemist, he's one of the only 2 pros who are able to take out both DKMR members in this Invitational. So not only is he on a team that has another strong player on it, but that player can give him advice on how to deal with this format. So that should be really interesting to see how that modifies or changes the situation.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe Curse will be the DKMR rival here, and should be able to break through. The last 2 weeks, we had Tice from Meet Your Makers and Zixo from Team Root, and neither of them were able to break through. We're able to break through the first best of 5, actually. Yeah. And so DKMR has had some really nice showings here. And what's really cool about this format is that the DKMR players have to submit their decks an hour ahead of time, and they have to have their decks set, but the invitee can submit his decks five minutes beforehand and can change his decks in between the first and the second matches so that he can't be scouted and that he can't really be too well prepared for, except for watching his previous tournament performances. And so they do come in with a little bit of an upper hand, and still these DKMR pros have really shown how strong they are, even if they aren't quite so well known on the tournament scene as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've had a lot of other great competitors. Meet Your Makers Ignite, Mana Grind Z-Rusher, Temple Storm's Raynad, Chalky, Wampy, Cloud9's Ecop, Trump. I mean, if you name it, we've had them on here. So a lot of great players, and we've got a great set of games for you tonight. So get out on social media, let everyone know this is going on, tweet at them, tell them the DKMR Invitational is happening, Darkwony is in the house, and you really should come and check it out. It's going to be a great night of games.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see what everyone's going to have, especially since the recent decks have been incredibly interesting. All this experimentation from Nax Rammus, it just doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop. People discover new combinations, new cards that were originally thought to be bad, which are now some of the strongest, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun this week.
So much is changing. I mean, with the EU and the NA Blizzard Invitationals, there's so many things happening, so many different tournaments. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, with there's some tournaments in China, the China versus Korean tournament on OGN. There's so many tournaments happening right now that are allowing all the players to sort of experiment and see what other people are doing. And this is another tournament that has a slightly different format and is a little unique in its own way. And all these formats allow for slightly different choices. And with the new Nax Rammus cards, the meta has exploded effectively. And it's fantastic.
That's absolutely true. I really like that it's it's kind of just opened up a lot of new deck possibilities, and one of the favorites that I've seen that we got to see yesterday in the Deck Wars is Kel'Thuzad has made some minion-based kind of mid-ranger control decks really strong, and I would love to see that card. I think it has to be my favorite Naxxramas card so far because of his huge impact on the game.
It's true. A lot of people call it a win more card, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's the case. I really feel like it has its place in certain decks, and certainly think that it's got one of the strongest effects that there has ever been in a game. So it's pretty strong. So guys, just to let you know, if you're not familiar with this format, the way it works is Darkwony will play potentially both players tonight, and if he can beat both players, he'll walk away with $325. And the way the format works is the first match is a best of 5, and then he'll win $25 if he beats Kisstafer. If not, Kisstafer moves on. If Darkwony wins, he moves on to the best of 7, and in the best of 7, he'll be competing for $300. And that means that it's a total of $325 on the line. And if Darkwony loses, Kisstafer goes on to play D2 in a best of 7 for $25, the initial $25 that Darkwony would not have won in that case, and for that best of 7 spot. And if you guys don't know, that's how D2 got into the best of 7 spot. He took out his teammate, he took out the competitor, sort of the invitee, and he basically has not left that best of 7 spot, and I don't see him going anywhere. He's playing very well, he's up on the meta, and I'm really excited. So that's sort of the way the format works.
Yeah, definitely. It's really exciting. It's a nice way for Darkwony to have yet another good tournament performance, get some points up on GoToGamers, and put $325 in his pocket, which I don't think anyone else would complain about, especially getting to play a game as fun as Hearthstone. But these DKMR players are competing against each other for this. They competed against each other for the spot to go ahead and play in the best of 5, and D2 is the reigning champion now after 2 weeks of winning the best of 7. And, you know, there's a lot of honor on the line for these DKMR players as well, even if it's not all about the money.
Absolutely. And if Darkwony is able to take out both players, then that $300 will reset. It'll go back to $75. If not, the 300 goes up to 375 for next week when we have Cloud9's Gnimsh coming in. And you know he wants that 375. He loves winning tournaments. So we got a great game. We've got a great challenger. Let's talk a little bit about our challenger. Darkwony from Team Cursed. He resides in Gothenburg, or Gothenburg, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, Sweden. And he is a very accomplished player. First place in the EU Hearthstone Challenge number 10. Second in WEC's qualifier for Europe. Those are 2 gigantic events. Third place in the Well Played Cup Invitational. Number 1 EU Hearthstone Test Season number 1 in the final rankings. So he was literally the best player on the EU ladder. He is undefeated as a 4-0 winner on ESGN Fight Night, which Disciple mentioned earlier. And if you have not followed him, he is at Dark, D-A-R-K, Wonyx, W-O-N-Y-X on Twitter. So also on Twitch, Darkwony. Go check him out, give him a little love, tweet at him, tweet at us, let people know what's going on. And let's talk just a brief moment about the team and their accomplishments. So I'm going to go over to the team here. I'm going to go to the website, and you can see here their team. So you've got Darkwony and you have Alchemist. Alchemist I already mentioned. He is a solid pro. He has won the DKMR Invitational. Only 2 pros can say they've done that outside of Team DKMR. And then we have Darkwony. And so to talk a little bit about the team's accomplishment, Alchemist was 2nd place in the WEC qualifier NA. Oh my god, that's gigantic. And a 4-time King of the Hill champion. So, I mean, what more do you need to say? It's not a big team, but it's stacked.
Absolutely. Team Curse has been one of my favorite esports organizations in general, and seeing them pick up these 2 awesome players definitely bring a lot to the scene. They have really great tournament performances, and I expect big showings from them in this, of course, from Darkwony now and from both players in the future. I think that these 2 Curse players are really strong, and it's especially nice to pick up these 2 players that keep up consistent performances, because a lot of teams have been picking up really great players who kind of fall short. If there's a week where they don't adapt to the meta, or a tournament or 2 that they come flat in, then it can be it can actually be pretty difficult to keep them on, to keep them relevant in the scene. But these 2 players I think are going to stay around for quite some time.
And I do want to mention who we're playing against here. So we have Kisstafer and D2. And as I mentioned, Kisstafer is a really solid player. He's always in these best of 5s, or it seems like he is. And we also have D2. D2 has qualified for the BlizzCon NA qualifications. He's going to New York. He's going to be playing there. He's going to be trying to be one of those 4 seeds to BlizzCon from the NA, and that's a gigantic accomplishment, as both of the Curse players have done. That's what everyone's vying for these days. So it's not as if D2 placed in a sort of a big tournament, or placed in a tournament that some people are playing in. Every single Hearthstone player in the world who considers himself a contender is in one of these BlizzCon tournaments to get a seat into BlizzCon. And D2 got one of those seats. That is a fantastic accomplishment, and we should congratulate him for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so impressed by his performance, and I'm really excited to see what he can do. Getting experience at the Invitational like this as well is going to be a great opportunity for him to test out decks, kind of just test out the pressure of playing on stream, playing on camera against these other high-level players. And that's something that a lot of these players can struggle with, but that these Invitationals can really give great experience for, to make those performances in BlizzCon a lot stronger.
Yeah, and you know, it's a really good point. When you're playing in a lot of open tournaments, and even in some of those invite tournaments, you don't always play the top players, right? It's a bracket format, or it's a Swiss format, and you're not sure you'll always play those players. So in this format, the 2 DKMR pros are almost guaranteed to play a top player, unless of course Kisstafer, the best of 5 player, knocks out the challenger, and that does happen. And on that note, it looks like we're really close to starting the games. I would say 30 seconds away. We're really, really close, guys. So we'll get into the mulligans in just a moment. Thank you all for watching. This is going to be a great best of 5 to kick off our event, the DKMR Invitational number 13.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. For anyone curious, this is a live event. The streams are on a slight delay, so that we can have time to set them up, get them up on stream, so that there's no ghosting or anything. But we do produce this live because we feel like that's an important thing for the community to see, and I'm really excited to have this style of Invitational and to bring it to you guys. It's going to be a fun set of matches. I don't think that we can count Kisstafer out, even though Darkwony is such a strong player. I really think this is going to be a tough best of 5 just to make it to that best of 7 against D2 right after.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the games are live and on a slight delay, and by slight we mean 8 minutes, and that's going to give us enough protection to make sure that there's no funny business, and that's important. The integrity is important. Both players on DKMR and the challengers coming in knowing that their deck lists are safe with me and that their streams are safe. 8-minute delay is pretty much enough to prevent anything going on, and these players aren't trying to do that anyway, but we do want to be safe, we do want to be smart, and that's integrity is important. So that's why we're here, that's why we're on an 8-minute delay, and that's why we're getting into the mulligans, guys. Game number 1 of this best of 5, and here we go. It is Curse's Darkwony versus DKMR Kisstafer.
All right, and right opening off, we see Darkwony with his priest against a rogue there from Kisstafer.
Okay, this is a very common thing. You see the Akanai Soul Priest, Circle of Healing, Power Word Shield, Injured Blade Master. This is a very common deck, although it hasn't been a big tournament deck. Very new to the meta to be a popular tournament deck.
Right, I'm not actually sure what type of priest this is, since pretty much every priest deck is going to have that combo. The only card in there that might not be in some decks is the Injured Blade Master.
Right.
Akanai Circle is just absolutely vital to any deck here, since board control has gotten so important as of late. And it could be a Death Rattle Priest that goes for kind of an aggressive opening, which he's actually going to mulligan for with an Undertaker and with Zombie Chow.
And that is in fact what this is. This is an Undertaker Priest.
Okay, I would love to see how quickly this can get off, because if Miracle doesn't have the right answers for it, which he does not in his hand, that is the worst hand he could imagine against an aggressive Undertaker Priest. Yeah. And he's going to have some hard times. He needs some saps for that Injured Blade Master.
But you know what? We do have Darkwony not getting what he's looking for either here.
That's true. He does have the coin and the Injured Blade Master, so he could put out a 4/7 on turn 2, which Rogue has absolutely no way to deal with, unless he just hits it with his face a lot of times, or he finds that sap. Yeah.
So the Akanai Circle of Healing, which basically is sort of a mid to late game combo. You don't really want that Circle of Healing early. Except, actually, no, I take that back. He's got 2 Injured Blade Masters, so that is in fact a fantastic turn 2 with a coin.
He's curving perfectly. Sometimes you like to save the Circle of Healing to take out a Stealth Auctioneer, but I think in this case he might go ahead and use it, because throwing out a turn 2 4/7 is one of the biggest tempo plays you could make. And with this deck, you need the tempo. You need to shut down and apply pressure to this Rogue before he gets off his huge damaging combos with Leroy and Cold Bloods.
And as you can see, the Zombie Chow in there already starting to do work.
Right. Throwing out that Alum on turn 1 is the best play you can make in pretty much any deck. Zombie Chow is insane. It's balanced by the fact that it does return your opponent health, and you can draw it later on into the game on turn 15, and it would be the most useless thing ever. But getting it turn 1 is absolutely insane. And look at that. He has so many stats on the board on turn 2, and Rogue he has to be pulling his hair out. He has Leroy and Gadgetzan. What can he do against that?
I mean, he's gonna. Looks like he could probably clear the 2/3, and it's gonna save him some health. So effectively, none of that damage will have impacted him. But he's gonna have to draw into something to deal with that 4/7. So I think that's okay. You're right. It's a really bad spot, but as long as the Miracle Rogue doesn't continue to be at a disadvantage, I think he'll be okay.
We'll see, because he has a terrible turn 4 and 5, unless he gets a 1-drop and can potentially get out a... But even if he gets out a 4/4 Van Cleef, which is usually so strong against a Priest, he just has a 4/7 Injured Blade Master. He can run it into the Van Cleef and just heal it right back up. And I don't know that Rogue is going to be able to get board control. He might just have to struggle to stay alive.
No spells. He's just got Cold Blood and a bunch of minions. I mean, he can drop down the Violet Teacher here. That doesn't really deal with the board. So I was hoping in the case where D2 would be, Kisstafer would be able to draw into something that would allow him to deal with this minion.
Okay, Violet Teacher is a really interesting card that I haven't quite seen. I guess Miracle Rogue runs a lot of spells, and Violet Teacher works great with a lot of spells. Yeah. But I can't say I've ever seen a Miracle Rogue deck that runs this.
This is a great way to fight. Special. Yeah, this is often in their Rogue. This is kind of a DKMR tech.
Okay, it's interesting because it really lets you fight for board control, which the meta has gotten to quite a lot since Naxxramas. It lets you get these little 1/1s to trade off into your opponent's creatures.
Yeah, and this is probably a Thought Steal turn, right? There's really nothing else to do here.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you could run your Injured Blade Master in and heal it, but that doesn't really accomplish you anything. I think you just Thought Steal and hope. He could have Thought Sealed last turn because he knew his Injured Blade Master was going to die immediately. Oh, with that backstab, I think he's going to go ahead and take out this Violet Teacher.
He will, and that is kind of the tempo that he needed to continue having the advantage here versus Kisstafer.
Right, that's really strong to deny any value from that Violet Teacher when it comes to summoning the apprentices, and it puts him in a really strong spot on the board again. The only interesting play was throwing away the Injured Blade Master to the to that dagger last turn. But I suppose he just couldn't afford to do a turn 3 Thought Steal since he's fighting so hard for board control. Maybe he felt like it would just his single Injured Blade Master would die and he would just lose all sense of it. I'm not exactly sure what his thought was, but right now Miracle Rogue is not in a good spot. If he throws out a Gadgetzan, he can't draw any cards.
Alright, so Gadgetzan's down, nothing's going to happen, and it's going to be very easy to clear. He can heal and clear, he can sap, I mean, he really can do anything he wants here. He can also just trade and bring down a Sludge Belcher. There is another Gadgetzan in Kisstafer's hand, so it's not game-ending. What's more game-ending is the tempo that we're seeing here.
Right. This tempo from the Priest is what makes them strong right now, and that's really coming to light here, just throwing down this huge minion early that a deck like Miracle without any really strong hard removal just can't do anything about. I mean, you have Sap as your hard removal, and that's it. And since you don't draw it, I mean, I don't think you sap the Gadgetzan here at all. I think you just go ahead and heal up your Blade Master and trade. Because
he gets the Eviscerate, so now he has some of those options he needed. But with 6 mana, do you drop out the SI, give it Cold Blood, and then Eviscerate? I mean,
I might be on a little bit of a delay behind you, so I think I'm going to go ahead and try to reconnect here because I'm still on Darkwonyx's turn, turn 5.
Yep, go for it.
Okay. Excellent. So go ahead and carry it from here.
So yeah, nothing's happening at the moment. We're just it's basically yeah, there we go. We're basically waiting to see what Kisstafer does, and I will get this all sorted here.
Okay. Thank you so much for your patience.
Yep. And again, nothing's happening. Basically, Kisstafer's mulling over his options, which aren't great. He, even with the thing I mentioned with the SI and the Eviscerate, he's not clearing anything. And when you don't clear something in Hearthstone, that's horrible. When you don't clear something versus a Priest, game ending.
Right, absolutely. Like, this Sludge Belcher is going to be so hard to budge. He doesn't have any good way to deal with it. He has 2 combo cards he wants to get out, and he can't really do them both. And so he's just going to go ahead with an inefficient SI7, probably the best Van Cleef you can get, since it doesn't immediately die to what's on the board, and it doesn't get taken out by the Shadow Word Death.
And you could just sap it. I mean, you can do a lot of things here. You can drop down Sylvanas. Is the intention here to maintain board control, or is the intention to go to face and start putting on damage?
I don't think you go for damage now, because if you leave up those creatures, that's when things can start to turn a little bit sour, where you go against the removal and a potential Cold Blood to push through a lot of damage before the Leroy combo. I suspect right now he can simply go for a sap and then take out SI7 and heal, which would be a really nice way. You don't create more board pressure, but you clean up what's on the enemy, so you essentially maintain what
he has chosen to trade with the SI and bring down Sylvanas, so that has... it makes sense. He's leaving the 4/4 on board, which again is going to kill the Belcher, but at the same time, it's not getting the rogue where he wants to be, because now you've got a 5/5 you have to deal with as well.
Right. The 5/5 is definitely going to be pretty tough, and what's so great about this 5/5 is you can Shadow or Death it if a Stealth Auctioneer comes down. Not actually sure if there's a Conceal in this deck, but I mean, really just being able to steal any minion. There are actually some miracles that are running without Conceal, and I'm just wondering, with the interesting tech with Violet Teacher and with the Cold Blood, which a lot of decks haven't been running, they have to cut something.
He's got 2 Conceals. I'm telling you, I kid you not. So this is a very interesting version. I actually haven't seen 2 Conceals except on the Chinese server, I think it was.
Well, all right. In that case, if he throws down a Concealed Auctioneer here, this Sylvanas just completely takes away that option, and so
that's it. Because without 2 Gadget Zans, you need to push for damage to finish it, because you're not going to be able to draw into cards, and the priest is at 30. So this is really shaping up well for Darkwony. It's a very strong initial deck pick.
That is the worst turn that you could possibly imagine from a Miracle Rogue. Did he just dagger and pass?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
This is getting pretty rough. I feel like I'm still on a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, right now he's hitting with Sylvanas in face. That's where we're at. And the sludge, the ooze, if you will, or the belched 1/2 is still on board, and he's contemplating to trade. I mean, I think you trade with the Van Cleef. And then, yeah, he can bring down the Undertaker and a Leper Gnome. Those are definitely fine plays right now. I don't see why not. He's taking his time, though, which is really showing his not just his level of skill, but his patience. There is a very straightforward play here. He could attack with the ooze, bring down the Undertaker, bring down the Loot Hoarder, and except he's not going to. So okay, so he's bringing down the Loot Hoarder, and then he's going to use the spell, which makes sense. It's gonna maintain the board present, and it's gonna maintain the taunt, which means that there's gonna be no Leroy shenaniganry or anything like that coming down to start hitting face.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely strong to keep up that taunt, especially since you don't know when you're going to draw into another Sludge Belcher. And a deck with Cold Blood can deal, up to 30 damage in a turn if he gets the right preparations and everything.
Yeah.
At this point, you can be pretty liberal with your removal to just kind of keep yourself in as good a spot as possible, as opposed to overextending yourself, since right now it's looking like you're probably in the win unless Miracle Rogue can pull out something crazy, which with the Gadget Stand they might be able to.
And so with a 8 mana, he's got Backstab, Blade Flurry, Eviscerate, and Cold Blood. He's also got Leroy and Gadget Stand. I feel like he's probably gonna Blade Flurry here, and the question is, how does he deal with the 5/5? Is it an Eviscerate? That seems to be the best play here. Blade Flurry, Eviscerate, board cleared, and now he's at least in a position where he's not losing next turn.
Right, that's true, and that's what he had to do. He had to go for the not losing play, but the issue is, since he couldn't throw down the Gadget Stand because of that Sylvanas, he had to go for the not winning play either. What he wanted to do was use those spells with a Gadget Stand Auctioneer down and be able to draw through his deck like Miracle Rogue does.
This is brutal. Right, he gets another Loot Hoarder to buff the Undertaker and has enough mana to drop down Loatheb, which is the deal breaker here for the Rogue. I mean, it looks like Leroy is his one option here, or a 5-mana backstab.
Yeah, the 5-mana backstab is. I mean, is that really going to be his best option?
No, it looks like Leroy is probably going to be it.
Oh man, just trading Leroy means you lose.
Yeah. Yeah,
you,
but I mean, you know, Kisstafer's playing what he has to do. He's not playing it poorly. He's in a really difficult spot. He didn't have any other options. There weren't any better plays. There wasn't anything for him to do. This deck, that start versus his start, it's just where we're at right now. It's the way it is. Yeah,
and it goes to show the absolutely tremendous strengths of a Death Rattle Priest deck, where if you get board control, you don't lose board control, and it's really hard for other decks to be able to keep up with that. There definitely are decks that can do it, and there are a couple decks that can reclaim board control, such as Paladin or Hunter, which we've seen as potentially some of the ones who can do well, just if they get the right draws.
And we just got a sneak peek here, a little Kel'Thuzad action, so we might get to see this, probably not in this game, because it's not really necessary, but we might, well, actually, let's see, can this be cleared? Yeah. This is clearable with the Eviscerate. Yeah.
If you can win without Kel'Thuzad, then you try to, because you don't want to tell your opponent you're running Kel'Thuzad, since you're probably going on to the next game with this same deck.
Absolutely. And we're gonna have a sap. So actually, no, he's getting really good draws with his Gadgetzan. So he has plenty of mana here. He can Cold Blood this to continue to draw in. Here comes the Eviscerate down. Not efficient, but at least it gets it off the board. And does he want to... Yep, Cold Blood. I think that makes a lot of sense. So let's see what he does here. Gets another sap. Okay, and he daggers up. So, at 5 health... ooh, Power Word Shield. I like it. So the Dark Cultist is coming down. Probably a Power Word Shield to get some draws here. And I'm guessing the Shadow Word Death on that 8/4, because there's no reason to sap that.
Yeah, Shadow Word Death makes so much sense. Putting this Power Word Shield on the Dark Cultist is really strong, since it keeps it around to deal that 3 damage next turn. As long as there's no sap, we know that there is a sap, of course, but not all decks run double sap. I think with the Sludge Belcher meta, it's probably a lot more necessary than it might have been a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And still...
With the Holy Nova, if he draws into an Akanai, he can Holy Nova Akanai and Hero Power to finish this game for the 4 damage if everything gets cleared on the board. So it's pretty much a matter of time at this point. And I'm sure Kisstafer's, while he's trying to finish this game off strong, doing 30 points of damage without a Gadgetzan, without a Leroy, maybe in the back of his mind he is thinking a little bit about what he's going to play next.
Or I'm waiting for the Mana Addict Conceal. Okay. And a ridiculous turn. No, I think that's probably pretty impossible.
We've got to have that sax music come on in. We'll play the little jazz, little sax.
Hearth Trollden, please.
Yeah.
Just how do you lose this game as Priest? Like, sure, you can't do 3 damage this turn, but you can throw down huge minions that are really hard to move off. We're gonna go ahead and see the Sludge Belcher and the Dark Cultist, and you can threaten your enemy while healing one of his minions. Oh. Darkwony doesn't go for it. I'm disappointed.
Shade of Naxxramas, a very interesting card. Yeah, he's running 2 of those. So this is have you seen Shade in the Rogue recently?
No, I've seen it in a lot of control decks, which you could kind of say that Miracle Rogue is in a way.
Yeah.
But I think it definitely works, especially with potentially the post Leroy meta, since if you run double Cold Blood for the damage and then Shade for the ability to get that Cold Blood damage through, I think that could be really, really powerful in upcoming iterations of Miracle.
Absolutely. So we're going to get on to our next match in just a moment. We have, give me a second here, let me just change that. And we have, of course, Darkwony taking game number 1. So that means that Kisstafer, I keep wanting to say D2, Kisstafer has to counter this Priest. He really needs to find a deck that, it's not that he's at that point yet where he needs to find a deck that will win every game, but he needs to certainly win the next game. 100%.
Definitely. he's definitely going just hardcore to counter this this priest. If he has 2 decks and one can do well against everything and one just does well against priest, I say you take it, because this priest can come out with some really convincing wins against almost every deck, and you really have to try your best to take it out now, or else it can just clean sweep you. We saw it go through some really nice sweeps on the deck wars yesterday, especially Koyuki. He took it through all the way to the finals and had some really amazing performance on it, and it's just such a powerful deck right now with this really strong board control meta. And so I'm interested to see what the counter here is from Kisstafer.
Yeah, and you know, Kisstafer has some potentials here. He has a potential here to play a hunter or a paladin. So with those 2 options, what are your thoughts? I don't want to get into the deck lists per se, but we have hunter and paladin here.
I say paladin. I think that priest is actually usually pretty preferred, at least by a slight margin, over hunter. I think that paladin, with their board clears, with equality and consecrate, or equality and wild pyromancer, as well as the hard removals on some of priest, slightly larger minions, or the ones that get out of control with your stampeding kodos, can be really powerful to combat this priest. And then you come out in the late game with really strong, heavy minions that priest can't necessarily deal with over and over.
Yeah, and you know, I saw just recently Amaz's priest get taken down by a paladin. Who was it? It's the guy who's known for playing paladin. It's his like go-to deck. It wasn't Masan. Oh god, I can't remember offhand. But either way, the paladin seemed to have everything it needed, and Amaz even got like the sickest thought steals. He got like Rag, Sylvanas. He got 2 other legendaries as well. He had everything he needed, and yeah, it was incredible. But this priest has crazy clears like Wild Pyromancer and Equality, and you know, it has so much. And we are getting into the mulligan, guys, for game number 2, and it is that paladin versus that priest, and it is 1-0 Darkwony over Kisstafer.
Right, and getting in here, we're going to see an Undertaker turn 1 from the priest, which is incredibly strong. Sometimes you'd really like to go second with the coin to be able to potentially coin into a zombie chow and pretty much have an unbeatable opening.
We do have an X Rammus, which is okay, and you have 2 True Silvers, which you really don't want. You want 1, but that's okay. I think these decks, is enough in the Paladin with the Shade and the True Silver to sort of deal with the early pressure. He's going to take damage, but there's a lot of healing. Do you think it's enough to deal with the early pressure right now?
Yeah, I think True Silver and Sludge Belcher are really nice. I think that Shade is not going to be incredibly strong here. At least it's a minion he can play early on. But oh, look at this curve already coming out with the turn 2 loot order from Darkwony.
But you know, he can coin out the Shade on turn 2, which will make it big enough to kill the Undertaker, even with 1 buff.
That's very true. Yeah, the 2/3 Undertaker will get taken out, and I think he has to do that. It can be tough with this Paladin deck since you're really lacking damage, I think, which is why Shade and Extremis was thrown in. But if you can get that attack and trade in, which he's actually not going to be able to go for, he's just going to go for the Silverhand Recruit to at least trade with the Loot Hoarder.
Another Undertaker, so he can attack and heal, and he can bring down the Undertaker, or he can bring out the Blade Master, which I think is a really strong play. So yeah, it looks like that's what we're going to see. He's going to trade, keeping his minions alive, keeping the pressure on. Really good start. And we're going to see the coined hero, True Silver, which is actually great. The fact that he's gotten rid of that threat and only taken 2 damage from it is really good. So, you know, I said you don't really want 2 True Silvers, but I guess it's actually really good in this matchup with the amount of pressure being put on by the priest.
Yeah, there's not a lot that you can deal with early threats, so having that True Silver champion is definitely going to be your best option. I was surprised that he actually threw out the Injured Blade Master without the heal, since I would be afraid of a coin True Silver champion to remove anything with 4 or fewer health. And right now he's going to be able to really stop a lot of this early priest aggression. With the Sludge Belcher coming out, though, I think that's going to be really nice up against a 4 attack weapon, since how do you take it out except with the True Silver and a Silverhand Recruit, which he doesn't have the time to make?
Yeah, and to that end, we're probably also going to see the Shade come down, which we do. The Sludge Belcher is going to buff the Undertaker, so that's fantastic, basically. It should keep him ahead of being attacked by the Shade, even if somehow the Belcher is dealt with.
Right. The Sludge Belcher is going to be really hard to budge for this Paladin here.
Except
he doesn't really want to use his
humility.
I don't think he wants to use his... I mean, you can use humility so you can trade into it without taking too much damage.
Yeah.
But, I mean, taking it from 3 attack to 1 really isn't that much of an impact. And you can save humility for the Stampeding Kodo, which is usually going to be a slightly more effective combo, since even if you humility something, you still have to kill it.
Yeah, it's true. Humility Stampeding Kodo is really nice. So he opts to bring out his own Sludge Belcher, which I think makes a lot of sense here. You're trying to stall, right? And what is the best card in Hearthstone to stall? Right now, for the mana, it's the Belcher.
Oh yeah, Sludge Belcher is just so difficult to get through, and so many decks don't have great answers to it, and so we're seeing it just pop in so many decks, even aggro decks, just to throw down, since it can keep your slightly unhealthier minions a little bit safer. And right now, you can just see Priest, if they fight for this early board control, they have so many options available to them. You could say, do I go with Sylvanas to potentially steal that Shade in the future? Or do I just throw down... You can also throw down, I think Cairn or Sylvanas are...
The thing is, I would trade in, though, first with the Loot Hoarder. I think you really want to trade first. Okay, good. So he agrees. He gets a Circle of Healing, which will not alter his play. Yeah, Karn's going to come down. And now we have a 3-4. So he has an option of what he wants to trade here. And, okay, he's going to go with the Belcher. Okay, I get that. I might have gone with the Undertaker, but I like that.
The reason is, either way he trades it, it still dies to the 4/4 Shade next Extremis next turn. So taking 1 damage or taking 3 wouldn't matter.
I was going to say, if he's thinking of Circle of Healing, it'd be fine, but it's a little early for that. He's in a good spot here.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if he loses the Sludge Belcher, he knows that he has really strong threats on the board. And this taunt isn't important for the taunt. It's only important for its ability, its difficulty to be removed, since Paladin isn't going to be pushing through with any burst damage or charge.
And let's take this moment before we discuss the options for Kisstafer to note that the meta has changed. Priest vs. Paladin, Game 2 of the Invitational. This is nothing like we've been seeing for the past 6 months, right?
That's absolutely true. Paladin was seen in some competitive play, but was usually considered one of the weakest, along with Priest. But now there's some of the strongest in competitive play, still not at the top of the ladder, except with this maybe a slightly aggressive Death Rattle Priest. But they are they have such strong performances in tournaments to with their abilities to come back in games, to clear boards, to turn around these early deficits that, I mean, I certainly can't count out the Paladin yet, since even though he's down at 16 health, he has some board clears and he has a lot of healing, like you said. Yeah. Right now he's just going to go ahead and True Silver to grab some of this board control back. He has to start keeping that equality in mind, since if he lets it get too out of control, it might be too little too late, with Priest just able to keep on throwing out threats. But if he takes care of it soon and maybe throws out a strong minion himself, he could regain board control potentially.
Ooh, but we have Sylvanas and Lotheb, and Karn has not been dealt with yet. That's really not good, I would say. I think the Paladin is behind, and he doesn't really have anything right now, unless he overextends. But Sylvanas is a great way of preventing an overextension, right? If you Lotheb, you prevent the combo spell. If you Sylvanas and he does kill everything, you get your minions back.
Right, that's definitely true. If he left this Shade alive, if you throw out Sylvanas right now, he just trades his Shade into it, and you don't get anything for it. So I don't expect that to be the play. Right. Unless, of course, you throw out your Sylvanas and then maybe trade in an Undertaker, which actually wouldn't die if you healed it up with a Circle of Healing.
Yeah, that's true. That is actually true. But then he wouldn't be able to play... Oh yeah, no, that's actually really good. He can Sylvanas, Northshire Cleric, and Circle of Healing. Wow. Okay.
Oh, whoop, there it is.
Uh-oh. This is coming down. So Darkwony is extending very heavily onto this board, and he's going balls to the wall.
Definitely. Okay. Right now, we're going to see maybe a potential... I don't actually know how much I like this. This was a possibility that we talked about, but I don't actually know that it's the best. Oh, wow, he's actually attacking in, throwing out a circle just for the draw.
Wait a second, he just said oops. Or not quite what he planned. Okay, so he was anticipating... He wanted to attack and then circle. I think that was what the mistake was there. Right? Why leave your minion at a 4-1? If you're gonna do a second circle, I'm saying.
That's true. That's true. If he had just attacked him with Undertaker and Karen and then used his Circle of Healing, then he would have had 2 full health minions.
Yeah.
So a slight mistake there. And now let's see if Paladin can bring it back within a quality Consecrate. I think that you use it on...
Yeah. Why not? I mean, the only thing you're going to have left is a 4/5, and that's a lot better than this. What do you think the other play he could have is here? I
say you go a quality Pyro, Consecrate, and then attack in with True Silver. You don't. Oh, you're on turn 7. You don't have the mana.
Yeah. No,
darn it! That would have been a perfect board clear.
Yes, because the Pyro would do 1 additional damage after the Consecrate, as well as after the Equality. But then the 1 damage would hurt the Bane, which would allow it to get killed by the weapon. Is what you were thinking, right?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. You would Equality first, of course, so that you could keep your the Wild Pyromancer alive afterward.
Okay.
So you would Equality Pyro Consecrate if he had 8 mana.
Okay, well now it's back to the beginning here. The Paladin is at 15 health, so the Priest has done a significant amount of work here. Akanai is not bad. You also have the Dark Cultist and the Dam stand ready. So you never know.
Oh, absolutely. He has so many options available to him. Since your opponent just used the combo, you can actually feel a little ballsy here and just throw all your minions out. You have Loatheb that it can't be comboed this turn, of course. And in the future, you know, he's already used 1 Equality. And my goodness, the board control is real.
Yeah, and that is it. Game number 2 goes to Darkwony. Wow.
This is one strong deck, and like we said, that Paladin had a slightly favored matchup to Priest, I believe, or at least more so than the Hunter does. Now that he's come out with Hunter, unless he can get some perfect draws, which is possible with the Buzzard Unleash combo, and grab all of those Hunter's marks, all of those bow charges, use the freezing traps to delay the Priest's tempo. Unless he gets those perfectly in line, I think the Priest is just going to overrun this board.
Yeah, and we know this last deck is a Hunter, and this is the Hunter of sort of the Undertaker, Leper Gnome, Web Spinner variety. So it's fast. It's got some late game too.
The issue is you lose your minions to Zombie Chows, you lose them to buffed up Undertakers, you get them cleared with Holy Novas and with Optimized Circles. I think that Priest is a strong favorite here. Of course, there are some interesting ways to deal damage to your opponent that we might not always think of, like the Stranglethorn Tiger in this deck. I've seen a couple of them. It's a nice way to get kind of a guaranteed kill command as well as 5 damage, which is almost as much as Leroy on the following turn.
And he also has 2 Savannah Highmanes on top of the Stranglethorns and the Loatheb. So we do have, in the mulligan here, yeah, I think you want to get rid of everything but the Undertaker. I would keep the shield. He's maybe considering not. I would keep that shield. You want to draw that card, I think, on an awkward mana turn. He doesn't want to. So he's trying to get all of his Death Rattle minions, right? That's what he's looking for here.
Yeah, he's looking for the Loot Hoarder and the Zombie Chow if he throws away the Power Word Shield. I think that it's fine to keep it as well, since you can keep it at high health to trade up against the early minions like the Haunted Creeper and the Web Spinner as well.
He doesn't get it. See, the other reason I like it is you throw it out on turn 2. Oh, he gets a Power Word Shield, so he's going to do just what I was saying. So now you can get it, and then next turn, without a play, you can either coin the Cultist or you can bring out the Power Word Shield, and if you draw it, you can coin into the 2-cost minion. So there's a lot of options here. 2 Power Word Shields. Okie dokie.
I still expect the coin Dark Cultist just to grab that tempo up immediately, and that's what we're gonna. Oh man, yeah, he's thinking about it. That's definitely what his thought is.
I mean, it's a solid play. Okay, so you got the 2/3 minion. It will now trade with the Spectral Spider. Question is he going to? I think you do, right? You don't want to allow that in there for to potentially be Houndmastered, even though it wouldn't happen for a turn.
So the reason you don't is because next turn, since you don't have any strong minion plays, you expect to use Power Word Shields and your hero power. So you do your trading on that slow turn when you can simply use it to keep your board control. The issue with trading in on turn 2 is that he can just throw both Spectral Spiders in and clear any 3 health minion.
Actually, that's
with
a really good point. You're right. I wasn't thinking about the next turn, and that's absolutely a critical way to look at this. I was thinking specifically about what the Hunter was going to do, but you're right. If he clears it, he gives the advantage, but as we can see, the bow's coming down. That will trade it anyway.
Yeah, it's nice to take the bow charges on. You know, he just took a bow charge on a 1-mana minion in the end there, which is 3 damage that doesn't go to his face. If he can get out both those bow charges before a trap comes down, he can really deny a lot of the effectiveness, and it's just a very expensive fiery war axe. So Priest still feels like it's in a pretty good spot, even though it lost that Undertaker.
Yep, and he has the option here to throw down the Loot Hoarder. Anybody mind if I roll need? Do it, baby, do it. Roll that need. And okay, so we've got the Leper Gnome here. And yeah, I think Animal Companion is really the play. What would you do in this case? Would you ever Leper an Undertaker here?
No, you throw away board control if you Leper Undertaker, since you know that your Undertaker is just going to get killed by the Dark Cultist.
Okay, so you got to trade here. You got to take the 1 spider into the loot and then trade the 4 and the 1. Or do you go all face? Because I know these hunters like to go face, but with these cards on the board, I think you're going to put yourself in a bad spot if you allow that Loot Hoarder to get buffed.
Yeah, I think you trade here, and you could potentially throw down Naked Undertaker, since Priest doesn't have a great way to deal 2 damage to anything, and you know that you have a Leper Gnome you're probably going to slip into your curve next turn, since you won't have enough mana to high main.
Yeah, okay, here's the trade, and so, okay, and he drops the Undertaker, and so now with 4 mana, we have pretty much a Zombie Chow and a Power Word Shield at this point, is really what he's got, and he will play that out, and get to Northshire Cleric. Probably save it?
I think you just heal yourself and pass. You can save Northshire Cleric at this point for a Circle of Healing turn. Since your hand is a little clunky, you have a couple big minions you throw out on turn 5 and 6, but you don't have a great draw mechanic otherwise.
He is thinking about playing it, and he is going to play it and not heal. Okay, so why would he be doing that? Let's think about this. If the Undertaker gets buffed, that will kill the Zombie Chow.
I think he just wants to try and pull out a weapon charge. If you just run your weapon into it, you could take it out right now. And I think he's fine with that, since he has a strong turn 5 and 6 in. There's definitely a course of thought that would have kept it in your hand for future draw, but he knows that he has to keep board control, and if that means getting rid of the weapon, then that's certainly one way to do it.
Look at this. Hunter's Mark, Zombie Chow gone, health back to the Hunter, and now he can use the weapon as you mentioned, and clear, and it looks like he will. There it comes down, Northshire down. Now we are into those 5 mana turns, so we're getting into the Belchers, the Cabal Shadow Priest, and as you can see here, stealing a minion with the Cabal could be really nice next turn. So this is gonna start to favor Darkwony, but I'd say Kisstafer did it just about as well as you can do to start this off, to not get it at too much of a disadvantage.
That's definitely true. What you don't want to see right after you use your Hunter's Mark on a 1-mana minion is a Sludge Belcher, kind of the most difficult minion to budge. And you just have to trade into it.
Yeah, you're going to trade in here, and the high main's going to go down to a Shadow or Death. Almost, yep, 100%. Karn doesn't seem nearly as good. And then, yeah, you're probably going to just drop a Loot Hoarder and go face.
Yep, I feel like the Priest is in a really strong spot right now. He doesn't have a lot of card draw, but he does have heavy minions to throw down. He can steal one of those hyenas, which will survive if he chooses to, or if a web spinner goes down, he may choose to steal that so he can have a future beast threat. I'm not really sure exactly what his choice might be. It would be fun to see a Priest. I want to see a Priest finish off with a
Cabal.
Or I want to see him finish off with a King Crush.
Oh, okay, got you. He steals the web spinner, gets a King Crush. Nice.
Oh yeah,
that's nice. Or he could get in a little, either not the mind vision I was going to say, but he could steal a weapon and finish Hunter off with his own weapon. That's always nice as well.
Yeah, definitely having those options available as Priest is a nice way to counter the Hunter just by humiliating them with their own cards.
Yeah,
I respect it.
He hasn't drawn in any thought steals as of yet. Okay, so yeah, so you've got Karn or the Cabal. Injured Blade Master doesn't really make sense here, especially with the Lotheb down. So okay, he's going to trade first.
I just go ahead and steal a hyena.
Yep, why not? Drop the Zombie Chow.
At this point in the game, since Zombie Chow, I think at this point in the game you might
Yeah, it's not.
Okay, so
it's
he's
not a lot of health if you consider the 5/5 going into it. Then he's not going into the 4/5. So I think it's actually fine.
right, right. That's true. There's always a consideration later on in the game, and I think he would have considered it if Hunter was below 25, where it was actually going to give him the full heal, where you can save it for when you get your Ashanai and use it as a kind of 1-mana Mind Blast to nuke down your opponent.
I like your pronunciation. The Ashanai.
Oh, or Akanai. I'm not too sure. I
like the pronunciation. I like the Akanai, but the Ashanai sounds like a badass, so that's fun too.
I'm glad you appreciate it. And right now, Hunter doesn't have any cards to draw. You can kind of see what the Hunter might be relegated to after the Buzzard nerfs. If you just have to throw out so many low-cost cards, this might be it.
Yeah, I've seen some Hunter decks that are kind of modifying for what they would expect to be post-patch, I think. And yeah, you're going to need a lot of small minions to maintain board control.
If you're so what, I'm curious what you've seen.
Okay. I saw a. Let me think. Actually, give me a second to think about that.
Have you seen Freshka's new Hunter?
Did it have a Did it have a Deathwing in it?
So the iteration that I've seen is you run Control Hunter with you run with Wild Pyromancer and Hunter's Mark. You run some Acolytes of Pain. You finish them off with Ragnaros, of course. Okay. You run Snipe in there for board control. It's amazing. It's interesting. It doesn't run Leroy. It doesn't run Starving Buzzard or Unleash the Hounds.
Right.
So it's the only Hunter that I feel okay playing without having a sick feeling in my stomach of being dirty afterward.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got the potential here for a Blade Master and a Defender of Argus. You could trade all your minions and then heal them up. But actually, no, nothing's going to survive a trade here, actually. So it's
it will if you buff it up. You'll have a 6 health.
A 5/6, exactly. That's what I was wondering with the Defender coming in. That makes sense. The 2/2 on the 1. You can lose a Hyena. I think that's fine. Yeah, I think it's fine to lose a Hyena. This is a good play, and you're going to hope to keep your Zombie Chow alive, so that he'll never get that protection of the Death Rattle.
Yeah, absolutely. He has it behind 2 taunts right now. You know that he's already used 100's Mark, so he has to, even if he 100's Marks the injured Blade Master, deal an additional 5 points of damage to this Cobble Shadow Priest before he can even break through. And even though Priest isn't on the highest of health and could die to a Leroy Unleash Kill Command combination, he has so many taunts to get through. I don't know that's going to be possible.
No, it's going to be difficult. Let's see what he does here. He wants to draw in before he unleashes. Okay, that's actually not the worst thing in the world. Scavenging Hyena. He can play it all out.
Oh, Leroy Unleash, Scavenging Hyena will give him a really, really nice minion on the board, but you do lose your big finisher, and it's so susceptible to a Shadow or Death, which we know that the Priest doesn't have, but Hunter could think, this minion has been, or this card has been in the hand for a couple of turns, since he hasn't played Cairn. He had it on turn 6, that it could potentially be that Shadow or Death.
Alright, so it looks like he's going to start trading down on this Cabal Shadow Priest. And then Leroy and the last Hound. And we have a, 11 or 12? A 12/7. 12/7, which is... Oh, Akanai, look at that. The Ashanai is in effect. So that will allow the clear here.
Yeah, really, you trade in your Zombie Chow now for really 2 damage to the Hyena and 5 damage to the opponent. Then I think you throw in I guess both whelps, or you 1 whelp, a hero power, and then your defender, and you are pretty set this game. I mean, Hunter is drawing 1 card a turn.
Yeah, everything goes in but the 1 whelp, and now the Hunter draws his he's got a Spectral Spider, yeah.
Oh man, so you know how that's admirable. His catchphrase is, that's a huge draw. This is the opposite of an admirable. I think this would be that's detestable. That's a pretty minor draw here.
Huge miss.
Definitely a pretty much the least impactful draw he could have. He doesn't surrender yet, just to see what he could draw. Maybe see if he can reclaim some semblance of board control if he got a kill command to take out the Ashenai.
Maybe a Houndmaster if it survived, and so it's,
if you get a kill,
yeah.
if he gets a kill command, he doesn't die this turn to what's on Priest's board.
He does. Oh no, the Priest has to heal though. The Priest
can't heal. He has an organized Priest.
You're right. He can't heal.
He can't heal.
You're right.
And he would. Oh my god! If we get a top deck kill command, this could be this could be Kisstafer's game. I hate hunters so much.
Or a top deck weapon, right? The weapon plus the hero power.
Yes, that's absolutely true. He's used one bow. I'm not sure if
bow, hero power, and the board.
You know, I don't think he's running double bow in this deck since we haven't seen a single trap. And if he's not running traps, I don't think you run double bow. I think you just run one copy of the bow.
No,
but he's definitely running double.
He's definitely running traps. He just didn't draw into any of them.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, he's definitely running traps. Let me take a look at this. 2 bows. Okay, so we've got 2 bows, 2 kill commands. Out of I don't know how many cards he has left. 15 maybe. Let's call it 16 cards. So 1 out of 8. So what? 13%? I don't know. I don't do math here, but under 20%.
Oh man. If Hunter wins this one,
let's see.
I mean,
no, there's a legitimate chance here.
All right, let's see.
Flare. Okay,
he has another chance to draw it. Oh god, skill command. Skill command.
Buzzard.
Oh no, a huge miss there.
Oh, that's painful. Okay, well that will be game number 3. Cursed Darkwony taking down Kisstafer with a Priest. We are here. We are priests. Get used to it. This just happened. Okay, guys, let me jump into the different overlay here real quick as we get set up for our best of 7. So now, and into the mulligans for the best of 7, we have DKMR's D2 facing off against Darkwony.
And here we go. An opening right away from Darkwony. He anticipated the potential priest counter and has opted for the handlock, which I think is going to be answered right here. Not sure yet since I haven't seen his draw. Yep, it's handlock versus handlock.
Yeah. And this is going to be a match of the last 4 or 5, 3 months at least. Handlock hasn't changed that much. There might be some slight variations, but overall it's a very similar deck. And let's take a quick look at these.
Yeah, that's definitely true. It's currently one of the strongest competitive decks, especially. It does give a lot of other decks a really hard time dealing with it, and I think Priest is one of those. You have both of your Shadower Deaths, but aside from that, you don't have a great way to deal with the Giants. The Twilight Drakes are just going to give you hell, and if you see one of those on turn 4, it's going to be so frustrating to ever deal with, especially since you don't run any Silence. Yeah. And so I expect that that D2 anticipated the potential Priest and so decided to open up with this handlock. We'll see whose handlock wins.
You know, I'm taking a look at this handlock. I'm trying to see if there's anything a little different. We've got the one Hellfire. That's pretty standard.
The interesting cards, I think, and what really makes a difference is cards like Shadow Flame can be huge. It also is very draw dependent who can get these Molten Giants, Mountain Giants, and Twilight Drakes out at the proper time. And there are a couple of other cards that can really change it. Things like Hellfire aren't going to be very useful for either player since they really won't wipe up very much. But if you can get out, you know, say a Molten Giant Shadow Flame against a stacked board, you can really turn the favors of the fight really heavily. There are also a couple cards that are different, like Ragnaros, which can snipe a giant, or potentially Jiraxxus. We've seen those in a few handlocks, and I would love to see, you know, Erdar, Lord of the Burning Legion, facing off here.
And we might see Jiraxxus. It's very possible we'll see him. We do have a slight variation here, with D2 playing 2 Shadow Flames and Darkwony playing 1. There's some slight variations here. I think it is ultimately going to come down to the progression of their use of the cards and the mana and the curve and how they get the removal cards they need to deal with the Giants.
Right, of course. And throwing out 2 Mountain Giants, one after the other, is going to feel really, really standard. What really matters is who has the first answer. You don't want to Shadow Flame this yet, even though you do get a slightly better trade since you get to attack with your Giant and clear a 3/3. But you still, I think, want to go for something a little bit better since your board is going to be completely empty afterward.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. You do damage, but you cede control of the board because your opponent has an opportunity to lay down 6 mana worth of creatures.
Right. That's
And you're not looking to
absolutely true.
burst damage with handlock versus handlock. It's a very different game plan. Why don't you talk us through a little bit of the game plan here, like what they're looking for? Because it's not about damage dealing.
Right, you fight for board control, you can deal some damage up until around 17 or 18. If you take them below that, which is something that players not on a professional level can have some trouble deciding, you know, do I attack here or not? Most players will always say, oh, I have a minion, I have to attack with it. But if you bring a handlock down to a very comfortable, 12 to 15 health, where they can... keep from dying the next turn and potentially throw out a couple of Molten Giants and taunt them up, you can completely swing the game back into their favor. So if you can build up a strong enough board and swing in for huge damage, that's probably the way that you're going to win this game with a couple of Giants and potentially a Leroy and Faceless.
Yeah, and it looks like with the trading of the 2 Giants, he does. D2 does now have board control, but Darkwony does have his 1 Shadow Flame, and like I said, he only has 1. So using that would have been a big decision. He's not drawing into another one. Hellfire's not the same kind of card. You can Shadow Flame for up to 10 damage, maybe 12 damage with certain combos, but you can do 8 easily.
That's true. We're at a point on the board where Hellfire is going to be at its most useful. I'm not saying it's the proper route here, but since you do have these lower health minions, it can be important to maybe grab some board control back. He has the potential to tap and throw in his Earthring Farseer, Hellfire, and just even up the board a little bit.
I do like this. I actually like that a lot. I think that's
going to be the most use out of Hellfire that he's pretty much going to get this game. Oh, Ancient Watcher is another great way to
the Ancient Watcher for a few reasons. Owl is one reason to enable it. And if some scary stuff comes down, you have Shadow Flame, Soulfire. That'll deal with a lot.
Yeah, very true. Ancient Watcher is so versatile in these decks. It's really fallen out of favor for a lot of the decks that used to run it. Some Priest variations and, of course, the Watcher Druid took it. Wow, the Defender of Argus comes down on nothing but the Slime.
I mean, that's huge play.
Yeah, it's a huge tell for Darkwony as to what's in his opponent's hand. You know that it's a lot of spells and probably a Molten Giant or 2 because he's not playing Molten Giant yet until he falls below 20 health.
And potentially Leroy and some Taunt Givers because he's used a Taunt Giver. He's probably going to have at least 1 more.
Right.
And we've got a bunch of Soul Siphons in both these players' hands, and that's another great reason to have played the Watcher. You don't want to Soul Siphon a Watcher. It's not really a good value.
Very true. But what he also knows here is that he doesn't want to throw out too many threats since your opponent likely has removal. Since he didn't throw out a Mountain Giant or a Twilight Drake or potentially another large minion, you can't overextend on this board for risk of being Shadow Flamed or Hellfired, which he can probably expect his opponents to have at least 1 of.
But Darkwony does bring down the Defender and the Earthen Ring, so he does fill up that board, despite what you were saying. And now you might see a Soul Siphon. That would be worthwhile on a 5/6 Taunter.
It could be. I also think that you can clear almost everything with a Hellfire here. This might be the best Hellfire for D2 as well.
Yeah, you're right. You can. That's right. If you trade both your minions. Yeah.
Right. You don't get anything much better, especially for using a. I definitely don't expect to see a Shadow Flame pick up here. I'm just curious as to what you do afterward, since you're 1 damage short of a full clear.
I would, I mean, you don't want to play the Shield Bearer. I mean,
Let's see. See, and the other thing is you can't Defender of Argus and then trade and then Hellfire. You can technically, but you
could Soul Siphon.
You clear the board that way, but you also lose a lot from your hand. And so it's actually going to be the Siphon Soul.
I was going to say, the Siphon Soul, and then you use your other 2 minions. That's not... Oh, actually? Okay, so he's actually holding the board, knowing that both minions... both minions can't be cleared by the board, per se. Only 1 can. But I think we're going to see the ability to clear it from a Defender of Argus coming down, potentially. No, not a Defender. He's got a Mortal Coil, though. That'll do it.
No, I think right now you fight for board control without overextending too far. I think you can throw down one large threat. Two would be a little bit too far.
Yeah, and he's got that. He's got the giant.
I wouldn't hate a mountain giant right here. You can go ahead and clear with that mortal coil, like you said, and of course you do the mortal coil first. You go ahead and draw, and I think a Twilight Drake. I think it's better here than a mountain giant, since you know your opponent still has some large removal that he hasn't used yet, and I don't think you're really too worried about that extra 4 damage. Interesting though. He
does go for the sort of more tempo or sort of larger minion on here. I'd say tempo play, but it's not really tempo at this point.
Well, if you're using tempo as a way to say speed up the game, I guess, or go for a faster course of the game, I think throwing out an
I totally agree with you. The amount of removal that he's got to have, I think you want to have that Twilight Drake get removed. I really agree with you. I think that the Twilight Drake would have been better here. Not even knowing what he has. Like, no matter what he has, it's better.
Yeah, of course, we can't just say one is better than the other, because he has to have a reason for doing it. We of course thought that, or we at least would have preferred to. Oh my goodness! Wait! Oh my God!
Oh! There it is.
So people are going. No, that's not it. His Soulfire discarded the second Soulfire.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. So people are going to get mad at us for calling out lethal, but no, we knew that Soulfire has the hidden card text.
Yeah.
Deal 4 damage, discard your other Soulfire.
Oh my God.
He went for the 1 in 7 play of he could discard any card other than Soulfire, but of course the Warlock Curse makes him trade Leroy into the Giant and leave his opponent at 10 health for all of the free mountain giants and facelesses that he would ever want.
Oh my God. Yeah, though that was a really good play. I can't really fault D2 for that. There was only a 1 in 7 chance, you said, of him losing that Soulfire. Wow.
But it was that 1 in 7 chance that mattered. You don't need to taunt up here because you know your opponent doesn't have Leroy or either Soulfire. Your opponent doesn't have a single way to burst you down. You just build up your board to win next turn.
I mean, Hellfire plus... No, it's not going to do it.
You have lethal on board right now.
Okay. So, at least we have a Shadow Flame here. That's going to clear the entire board. Oh, man. That's really nice. Oh! And I didn't want to say it, but...
If you can play Jiraxxus, you play Jiraxxus.
Yeah, you have faced Jiraxxus. Here he is. And he's going to face Jiraxxus. And I wish we had a camera here to see the look on his face.
Oh! You face Jiraxxus, Eridar, Lord of the Burning Legion. Oh my goodness, and it's very hard to lose from here. The issue with playing Jiraxxus is you can be burst down from 15 health quite easily, but now you get a 2-mana 6/6 every turn. You still have Taunt Givers, you still have Shadow Flame as well for a 6-mana 6 damage board clear.
And in fact, you gain 5 health in the process.
Right, of course, by going up to that 15 max health of Jiraxxus. The only issue is he has, I believe, 1 more Molten Giant left in his deck, and he can't play that Molten Giant. Let's take a look and see if he has lethal. As far as I can see, he's 2 damage off.
No, he can do it. He can Leroy, Hellfire. Yeah. Okay,
so you silence the Watcher, you Leroy, Hellfire, and then of course you have Soulfire at the end
with the hero power, with the weapon, I should call it.
Yes, of course, with the Jiraxxus weapon. So he's going to unless we're going to see a repeat of RDU versus Kungan, where by playing Handlock you forget how to play Hearthstone in general, and you decide to trade minions and go for the very interesting...
Here it is, and Darkwony does spot it. Pro player that he is. He's not going to make a silly mistake. And we have 6 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. That is 1 over lethal. And GG. Darkwony jumps out to a 1-0 lead versus D2. Wow, it's shaping up to be a great series. Can D2 come back from this?
I definitely think so. I think that he's going to go for his Shaman right away, which could be something that Darkwony doesn't quite mind against. Shaman probably has the best matchup against Handlock out of any deck. However, even if he takes that Handlock, then I would expect Darkwony to come right back with that Death Rattle Priest.
Yeah. I mean, it's what you've got to do. I mean, the other options here... Oh, yeah.
Hunter also does really well against Handlock. I wouldn't be surprised to see Hunter here.
Also, we have potential for a warrior here, and it has a way of dealing with threats, but I don't know that it's. What do you think about the warrior versus Handlock matchup?
You know, I actually think it can go either way. I think that warrior has such efficient answers that it can definitely beat Handlock if it has the right draws. But we're actually going to see the Hunter.
Yeah. Hunter. All right, so he's gonna try to race him down.
Right. He has just a 0 mana deal 7 or 8 damage to a giant. He has ways to get board control back so easily, and he has ways to burst down a class that really loves to pay health for cards.
Not to mention a couple freezing traps, which can put back gigantic threats right into your hand.
Right. One interesting aspect of the matchup is that Darkwony loves tapping, like Handlock always does, but every tap basically deals 4 damage to your hero, because you expect that if your opponent answers with a hero power of themselves, you've done 4 damage in total, and that's actually huge. It puts you on a really massive timer, which Handlock isn't that comfortable with if they don't get the cards that they need fast.
Darkwony is not happy about Jiraxis now. He was helpful last game, but no. Okay. Mortal Coil, perhaps, to deal with the web spinner.
You don't use your mana efficiently, but
you could just hero power and then do it next turn. But I think it's better to do it. He's gonna hero power and he'll do it. He'll do it next turn. Okay, fair enough.
Leaving a 1/1 on the board isn't threatening enough, and you can life tap now. Pretty much once you drop down to around 20 health against the Hunter is kind of when you have to be careful about it, because in 1 or 2 turns you're likely dead or winning.
Yep. See what he draws here before he taps.
Right, yeah, use the lower mana cost as well as the really efficient removal.
Well, now that you have an Earthen Ring, I think you're safe to tap again, because you know you're going to get 3 back.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Right now he's building up his hand, and the Hunter feels pretty slow, especially since he had the hero power on turn 2, which is something you never really want to do. Now he has some plays, though, with the Undertaker and Web Spinner once again.
Yeah, and unfortunately, though, for D2, Darkwony has Hellfire, which is going to come into effect, maybe not this turn, but when the board gets a little crazy. So I would say probably Molten, the 4-cost giant, the Mountain Giant.
I would have gone for the Twilight Drake, because you look at how is the Hunter going to answer this on turn 4? He's either going to ignore it or he's going to Hunter's Mark it. Right. And what do you want your opponent to Hunter's Mark? I would say a Twilight Drake preferably. So of course,
freezing trap now though.
He can. He can also. I mean, he does have the Hunter's Mark in his hand, and that would be such a great way to take it out. Of course, you can save the Hunter's Mark for a taunted minion to push through damage, which I suppose will be his choice here.
Save your Hunter's Mark for when you're in a jam and go face. There's really no way to get rid of that Hunter's Mark here.
Right. I mean, right. Yeah, that's another response to this Mountain Giant, which just completely cripples it. When it jumps back to your hand, now it costs 14 total. Of course, still reduced by 1 for every card in your hand, but still a massive setback for the Handlock.
Unless he chooses not to attack, in which case he's going to bring down another giant.
If you bring down another giant, it doesn't help you.
I would have said maybe a Sludge Belcher.
Yeah, I would say Sludge Belcher prevents damage off of you. I definitely would have agreed with the Sludge Belcher there. Throwing down this second Mountain Giant, now it can get taken out by the Hunter's Mark, or you can just ignore it, because as Hunter, at this point, you can just feel free to race him down. You know you have the Hunter's Mark to deal with the taunt. Yeah. You know that you have Unleash the Hounds and Kill Command to push through a lot of damage. And you can feel so good about your position right now as Hunter. This is why you choose Hunter in the Handlock.
And he gets a Scavenging Buzzard again. Wow. Hunters are getting Buzzard. Hyenas.
Scavenging Hyena.
Hyena. Not Buzzard. It's all about the Hyenas now.
Yeah, I mean, he of course just drew it from the Web Spinner, but those Hyenas can be really powerful in a deck. Right now, the Haunted Creeper is going to be such a good potential target for the Houndmaster. You can also you can throw Houndmaster and Hyena next turn to trade away your minions and develop a rather strong threat on the board to potentially finish off your opponent. If you can come through with Unleash and Kill Command, so, you can burst down from from this amount of
I
health.
feel like Darkwony kept Lotheb back because he didn't have a way to taunt up his giant, and that's what he was partially thinking of. So now he can guarantee a taunt that should survive a little bit longer unless there's a second Hunter's Mark or a kill command. But, of course, there is. And it's not even necessary because he can use Houndmaster because of the amount of health we have here. And that's what we're probably going to see. In fact, it is. And, okay, wow.
Oh, man. This board is a board that is very easily cleared by Hellfire. And actually a potential overextension from this Hunter. He threw out a lot of his threats right now. He still has a good deal of damage in his hand, but he just lost his board. I think that he might have thought about trading away his beasts to make his hyena a little bit more resilient.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen that. I agree.
Of course, what he went for was the play that essentially wins him next turn if there's no response, which is why he made that call. Of course, like there's really never any one play that's wrong unless you miss lethal.
That's an interesting draw. He already had a Soul Siphon, but you could also Soul Siphon Shadow Flame, right? Attack face and Shadow Flame. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Two responses there. One uses AOE, and one just uses single target removal. And since there's just the 2/1/1s, you can save your AOE for potentially a larger board. Yeah. Since you know your opponent still has one more Houndmaster, they still have some slightly larger beasts in the deck.
And he uses the owl to ensure that the two hyenas are not there. Nicely done.
Right, of course. And so I think a really, really good response there. And you've actually you've stabilized it right now. I wouldn't say that Handlock is winning yet because Hunter still has so many ways to burst down your opponent. You don't have a way to deal 19 damage in one turn quite yet, but you can come pretty close.
Let's see how much he gets.
Oh, the 4/6 Leok.
Yeah, 8's not bad. He's getting there. He's got to be afraid of Molten Giants, though, so...
Yeah, definitely. He's going to bring him as close to that edge as possible before finishing him. The taunt on the Leok is going to make a really strong minion here, but you know that it's going to be a prime target. So you have the option of Power Overwhelming and Shadow Flame. You can also Siphon Soul and then trade into the Houndmaster. Both are pretty strong plays that keep you alive for now.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Power Overwhelming. Basically trades the larger minion. Shadow Flame gets rid of the whole board. I think, well, Power Overwhelming Shadow Flame gets rid of the whole board for sure. So
right. I don't know that because the issue is if you use Power Overwhelming here, then you have to be confident in your ability to finish off the Hunter. He's still at 24 health, but of course you do have Jiraxxus and a couple of Giants left. So
I think it's the safer play to Power Overwhelming and then Shadow Flame, and is what he does. I think you have to be a little afraid of the Hunter, and he is showing it respect.
Of course, an interesting tech though from D2 here with a Sludge Belcher in the Hunter. Usually a bit of tech against other Hunters to try and stop them in their tracks while you search for a little bit of board control with those high mains.
Yeah, D2 does have 2 Belchers in here. To go along with the 2 high mains, so that is a helpful, really, as you mentioned, really solid tech in this matchup.
And now there are, I think, 2 plays. You can copy the Belcher and play, I would say, Twilight Drake, or you can tap and then Twilight Drake and Defender of Argus. That the Twilight Drake can take out this Sludge Belcher really well. He goes with the second here, which develops his board a little bit better.
Yeah, and saves the Siphon Soul for a bigger threat.
Yeah, absolutely. He can also he saves his Faceless here for what has now drawn into the 12 damage combo of Leroy and Faceless, Faceless Manipulator.
And he already used a Power Overwhelming, so it won't get into the 20 level damage craziness yet.
Yeah, not quite.
Okay, so here we go. He's unleashing.
Oh, yikes. This is not where you want to be as a Hunter. No. He was doing so well, but the biggest issue is that he hasn't drawn his card draw, and so now he's operating on 0 cards. Of course has the coin. He just coins out for the hero power since you're not going to get...
If only there wasn't a Jiraxxus.
Yeah, I definitely think that this is not a bad spot to be in at all.
I mean, you have to Jiraxxus, right? What if he gets a weapon? That's death with the hero power. You have to Draxus here, don't you?
Well, the other thing is if you Siphon Soul, you can...
Oh, you're right. There you go.
You can taunt up your...
yeah, you're right. Siphon Souls with the health
Defender
gain,
Vargas.
It's good enough.
Mm-hmm. And then you can get your opponent to try and bring you a little bit lower, and then you come out with the Draxus for even a slightly larger heal while you already have a board in play.
5. Actually, another kill command would do it.
That's
Unless
true.
He taunts up. So yeah, so he'll taunt up and then it won't do it.
So I would say he should.
Yeah.
Does it? So the question is, does he tap?
No,
because
he shouldn't tap. Because if he taps, then a kill command will kill him. Kill command hero power. Unless he trades with Leroy, and that's a whole nother ball game. And
right. Okay. Right.
So he's going to trade with Leroy. So he's worried about having a beast on the board, which is smart because, yeah, and not tapping is important here because he would have been dead. So there's, nope, he is dead. He is totally dead. Nope, he's one away. He's one away.
Yep.
Yep, one away.
Yep, he's not dead yet. One away, which means that Jiraxis is going to be an amazing Alex Straza right now. It heals you up to 15 and gives you such a good game coming out from here. Then you can come out next turn with a hero power and Ancient Watcher and Sunfury Protector. You can't quite fit in the Faceless Manipulator, but I think that this stabilizes him tremendously. There's no card draw from your opponent. I think this Jiraxis is actually likely to win Darkwony's the game.
No doubt about that.
So you think now, am I afraid of Whelps? I think he has to be afraid of Whelps.
Not if you watch your hero power and then Sunfury Protector, you're not.
That's true, but the thing is, you have to say, like, any additional damage I take from these Whelps, any potential Hunter's Marks that he top decks, and that's a big thing right now is Hunter's Mark. Leaving one of those Whelps up is just death for one of your taunts, and this is the safer play. With Jiraxis, you go for the safer plays because you win late game. Nothing is stronger late game, except maybe Ysera, than Jiraxis is.
Yeah, especially when you're at 1 health. Okay, we got a 6/6 Infernal coming out, and we're gonna Faceless it and taunt it up, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He made the slight misplay of not testing the trap first for Explosive. He went ahead and tested it after, so that at least these...
Yeah, it's not going to kill those minions, though, but you're right. It certainly would have been better to play it that way to keep the extra health on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so at this point, he probably going to win the game.
Oh my goodness.
So let's see, is this lethal?
It's a freezing trap.
So he has 12, and then 15. 15 plus 8 is 23. He wins right here.
Yep.
You face Jiraxis.
You face Jiraxis and Ragnaros, and that will be game number 2. And wow. Just like that.
Quickly becoming my favorite player, winning 2 games in a row with Jiraxis. That makes me happy. And he just got his 1,000th win. Big winner.
Oh my god. He's a big winner. Who's a big winner? Darkwony says. Can D2 come back? Can he take at least 1 game and get himself back into this match?
You know, I definitely think he can. I think he goes to Shaman now.
100%.
Which I might have glanced over and actually just seen that. He feels so confident on the Shaman. When I see him playing on the Legend ladder, I see him with that Shaman deck more often than not. And I think that this is just kind of where D2 feels the most comfortable.
I mean,
when it's not
as you mentioned, there's potential for the Warrior here, but Shaman is certainly the better card, the better deck.
Yeah, I think that Shaman, with your Hex, with your Earthshock, you have such good responses to what Handlock comes out with, and you can pressure the board so tremendously, especially with some of the new tech. And I'm not sure exactly what iteration we have D2 running right now, but some of these Shamans have been going out kind of aggressive with Undertakers and with some early Death Rattles. If you have a Haunted Creeper and a Flame Tongue Totem, you can apply so much pressure early on.
Certainly, and also you also have the potential with the Rock Biter and the Doom Hammer for 10 damage in 1 turn, plus an additional like 8 or 9 or 10 in the following turn. So you actually can burst down that Handlock once you get him to 15 health. And on that note, we have game number 3. D2 versus Darkwony in this best of 7, and Darkwony has come out to a commanding lead, 2-0. And we have a Shaman versus that Handlock. So you're really looking for the Earth Shocks and the Hexes here. There's your Hex. You do not really care about Lightning Storm. You do not care about Loatheb. Flame Tongue is important, actually, but he's going to get rid of it. I tend to keep it because it allows you with your totems. Okay, good. I'm happy he kept that. Really happy he kept that.
But the early pressure it provides you is tremendous. He was really hoping for one of his early drop minions, especially throwing down a Haunted Creeper with that Flame Tongue totem is immense.
Okay, so we have two Ancient Watchers and a Mountain Giant. It's not bad. A second Mountain Giant. That's really good. The Mountain Giants are critical in the matchup because you need to bait out those Hexes early, and hopefully they don't have enough damage with the Flame Tongue to do the damage on the board, so that you bait them out for when the Molten Giants come out, the Shaman's in a bad spot.
Yeah, definitely. If you draw all of your threats this game, then Shaman might not be able to respond to all of them. But if it's allowed to set up a board, then you throw down a Giant and it trades off a couple of totems with a Flame Tongue, and it can get such enormous value for so cheap, which is what Shaman really thrives on. He's going to go ahead and just coin off a Manatide totem because his hand isn't looking very good for early pressure. The Feral Spirits are really going to help out.
It's a really good play. There's not much that a Handlock can do to get rid of this. He doesn't Hellfire because he doesn't have the mana. Certainly he's not going to Hellfire one minion when he does. A Sun Fury's not going to do it. A Defender's not going to do it. An Ancient Watcher with an Owl will do something, but that's a great play. And now we have down the Spirits. So you're getting into the Hellfire range now. You could choose to Hellfire this, and he is going to. You have to mostly for the card draw here. The minions aren't nearly as scary as the card draw.
Yeah, and you think, okay, my opponent just went ahead with the Feral Spirits on turn 3. What's his turn 2 play? And you always think about that as a Shaman, and it becomes pretty clear that his turn 2 play, you always at least have to be afraid of the Flame Tongue totem, and that would have been insane swinging in for the 8 damage that turn, which is something that Handlock doesn't quite want to deal with, especially since he hasn't seen those Molten Giants yet. Yes,
exactly. Now, Twilight Drake is a really good play for next turn. That Giant is going to come down. We don't see an Earth Shock yet for the Shaman, though I assure you he has them in his deck. And the Hex is going to come down because there's, in fact, no way to deal with it. That's what that critical Hex is for. Right now, he doesn't have the totems out, but he will in the near future. So, 2 Twilight Drakes. One of those... Okay, so I do like playing the Giant here, and then the Earthen Ring. That's not a bad play. It is nice, though, to test the waters for the Drake, because if he doesn't immediately remove it with an Earth Shock, you can play another Drake, and that tempo is brutal when the Shaman doesn't have Earth Shocks. But, in fact, he does on his turn draw into the first one. So, it works out to be the better play for Darkwony.
Yeah, if he could see his opponent's hand, then he would definitely be happy about throwing down that Giant over the Drake. And this is one matchup where throwing down a Giant earlier is usually better, especially since the response is 3 mana versus 1 mana. But and
I was going to say, the Shaman has a way to deal with this Giant just as soon as he gets taunted up. So next turn, I would assume that Giant would get taunted up, but maybe Darkwony is afraid of a potential Black Knight, because there is one in this deck, and that would do some damage to that 8/8 if it gets taunted.
Yeah, definitely. There are some really strong minions in this Shaman that we don't always see. It's pretty interesting to see the Black Knight, Sylvanas, and Cairn, which haven't been present in every iteration, especially pre-Nex. You would pretty much never see these cards. You relied a lot on your Fire Elementals and maybe even Unbound to carry through a lot of your damage as some of your bigger threats. But these large Death Rattle minions are going to be really nice responses to some of Handlock's bigger threats.
And the Sylvanas is a really great play, and the reason is, next turn you're going to be able to kill all the minions but the Giant. So you're going to allow yourself to steal a Giant, which is really nice. It doesn't just eliminate a threat, it gives it to you. So next turn, you might even, you'd probably Lightning Storm, but you could burn an Earth Shock. But ultimately what you want to do here is clear out the Earthen Ring, clear out the Frog. Now you'd also have to clear out the Watcher. And let's see here. Oh, a double Watcher. Okay.
Oh, he wants his opponent's Sylvanas to steal one of these Watchers, since he can expect there to be no No real activator except for a Defender of Argus.
Okay, let's see what
And
we
let's
get.
see.
Oh, he gets the giant.
The
Oh.
Sniper Sylvanas.
Oh my god. You know,
Ouch, it's gotta feel rough. At least you have ways to
check
deal
this out.
3 damage.
D2 draws into a reincarnate, so if he wants, he can have an 8/8 giant back. It might get Siphon Souled, but still, that's kind of brutal.
I really like seeing this reincarnate. I don't think he uses it as a heal here,
No.
which is essentially all that would be. I think what he can use it later on is this Cairn. He would love to use it on Sylvanas. Sylvanas being one of the
Sure, that
being one of the best targets.
It's your 8 mana mind control, basically.
The other combination you have is for 10 mana Alakir Reincarnate, which does give you 12 damage. 12 damage not being the highest burst combo, but it is a way to finish off your opponent.
Yeah.
Since after reincarnating, the charge and Wind Fury will both reapply to the minion.
Yeah, and he might actually use it on Karn next turn, although we'll see. But there's my favorite combo with Reincarnate, which is a possibility because Kel'Thuzad is being played, is turn 10 Kel'Thuzad Reincarnate, you get 3 Kel'Thuzads.
Oh my goodness,
Or
that
2
would be
Kel'Thuzads. Let's see.
absolutely
Kel'Thuzad,
insane.
Reincarnate, 2 Kel'Thuzads.
Right.
You get 3 if you have the other combo with, which he's not playing in this deck, Ancestral Spirit. But yeah, that's a nice 2 Kel'Thuzads is really nice.
Yeah, Ancestral Spirit tends to be a bit too clunky to play with, since although you can get off insane combos, outside of the combo, it's not as useful. Say if you play it on something like a Sledge Belcher, you have the potential for insane value, but it's very likely to get silenced, as a Sludge Belcher already is. But just having a Reincarnate here, along with these Death Rattle minions, I think is going to be incredibly strong. And as long as Cairn doesn't get cleared here, I think you use Cairn to trade, and then go ahead and Reincarnate him, heal him, and get a Bane.
Oh, gets the owl, taps for the owl, that's so nice. I think that you got to do that here.
I think, yeah, you silence Cairn before anything, since what else does a Shaman really have that you're afraid of? What effects, I guess, are you really afraid of?
It's kind of like a Sludge Belcher, but that's not that scary. Sometimes I use it on a Flame Tongue Totem, which is quite helpful when there's taunts out. But leaving up these giants, yeah, you know, I think because he played it this way, I think we're going to see a Reincarnate, maybe a Lightning Storm, an Earth Shock on that Drake. I think we're going to see a significant amount of this board cleared. Let's see here. You attack with Karn, you Reincarnate, you Earth Shock the Drake, you storm the board. That is 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can drop the Flame Tongue if you want, and that would allow the Watcher to die. That might not be the best. No, you've got the Rock Biter. Although that you could do 12 damage next turn, so that might be worth saving. I think you trade Giant, Lightning Storm, Earth Shock, Reincarnate for the heal. And I think that seems like a pretty good combo itself. You're left with 2 mana after it. You could totem, and if you roll the right totem, you could if you roll that, you'd basically clear almost the entire board except for 1 Watcher.
I think pretty much any option here is really nice. He has so many cards in his hand. He has a really strong.
He's got the
board right
Black Knight. Okay, so we can do Black Knight and then Earth Shock, and then he can save the Reincarnate for later. Okay, fair enough.
Oh, okay, all right.
Fair enough. I think this is a smart
I was hoping
play.
for the Reincarnate.
Yeah, I get it, but you got to get rid of the Drake. So I understand that. Well, we'll see that maybe in the following turn. He's not prioritizing that spell or that power as much as he's prioritizing clearing the threats, which is good to do because on the next turn he can do 12 damage, plus the board is 8, that's 20 damage. That would be game over if a taunt doesn't come down, let's say. But
yeah, Alakir Rockbiter is such a powerful combination. You also, I mean, in your hand right now, you have Alakir Flame Tongue, Rockbiter, or Reincarnate, all great ways to push through a lot of burst damage against a handlock who's at 20 health. Being at 20 health doesn't do anything positive for a handlock. The only thing I might have liked to see, you won't get a better Lightning Storm than up against 5 minions when you're playing versus a handlock, and you might get a slightly better Black Knight up against a taunted Giant. That was, of course, something that D2 took into consideration and decided that building up this board with the 4/5 body right now to pressure lethal next turn was a more important play than going for the value of the Lightning Storm. You also would only have 7 mana on turn 9, which could be difficult as well.
There's a way to clear this, yeah. So we can Owl attack into the 4/5 and Hellfire to clear the board. Oh, okay, he's going to just clear the Karn. Okay, and then he's going to drop down. He's going to leave the Dark Knight. Okay. You know, that taunt is nice. The
taunt is necessary, especially since the Hellfire would have brought him to 15 health. And although there's not really too many combos which would kill him, they would bring him a little bit too close to death.
D2 has so much potential next turn. So he needs to set up for next turn. That's what he's thinking here. Because Alakir Rockbiter will clear the first taunt, and then you could have the Black Knight clear the second taunt, and then you could do 5 to the face. But you don't really want to do that. You want to bring it in for the game. So, man,
I say
Sludge Belcher, Sludge Belcher, and then
Flame Tongue and Totem.
And Totem.
You have the choice between Sludge Belcher or Loetheb here. Sludge Belcher doesn't really do much for you. You're on high enough health, and you're not expecting too many minions to be hitting you.
Yep.
And Loetheb does keep away some of those plays with, playing a giant and then a Shadow Flame.
Yeah, I like Sludge Belcher. Oh, he could do Rock Biter. Huh. Saving the... Okay. Alright. And then Storm. Okay, so he's decided that he's going to play this out slowly. He's going to take that Overload to lock him out of what would have potentially been a combo with Alakir. Interesting. Okay. He's cleared the board. His opponent's still at 18, which makes Molten Giants very expensive. He could drop 1 Molten and then taunt it up, but that's about it. He could also Twilight Drake. So...
Yeah, he has... Let's see. I'm curious to see how much damage he can push through next turn. Because it's not actually tremendously high. This turn doesn't go for the win next turn. What it does is it keeps the maximum number of threats in your hand so that you can continue to answer the next couple turns. What can be an issue against Handlock is if you overextend setting up for next turn lethal and Handlock has the perfect response, then you might be a little bit too thin in your hand for the rest of the game. You've already gotten rid of your primary card draw from the Mana Tide Totem, and then Handlock outvalues you.
He can reincarnate this giant and start going face. Does he have the lethal? No, with Alakir, with the 2 Overload, he can't Alakir Rockbiter. But he can Kel'Thuzad and trade everything in. So there goes your trades. And there come back your minions, and now Kel'Thuzad is in effect. That's pretty nice. This is not a win more condition. This is a get and board control edge condition. This is where Kel'Thuzad really shines.
Right. Because this meta has shifted so much towards board control and having minions and trading them in, you could say that wasn't true for the longest time. When Miracle was strong, board control felt meaningless. Even when Hunters were just bursting you down in 2 turns, board control felt meaningless. But now that it's slowed down a little bit, having Kel'Thuzad is a very, very strong addition to these control decks. So let's take a look. How does Handlock keep himself from losing here? He doesn't have a single taunt giver, so he has to be just a little bit afraid of the potential burst coming through from an Alakir double Rockbiter, Alakir Flame Tongue, Alakir Reincarnate. Of course, all those combos we've talked about that deal minimum 12 damage.
I think it's Leroy attack power, Leroy power overwhelming, and then, or is it? Okay, you know what? It might be Drake and Soul Siphon. Or Siphon Soul.
The issue is you leave 9 attack on the board. Oh, he's going power overwhelming and then Shadow Flame.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was saying for the first combo was power overwhelming Shadow Flame on the board. That's not bad.
Right. And what's really great is that he acknowledges that he still needs to win the game by killing his opponent down from 27 health, which is extraordinarily high, and using Leroy there for the clear would have just kept him from dealing a tremendous amount of damage.
Sludge Belcher Yeti. Oh, look at that one-off Yeti getting up in there.
Okay, interesting. We don't see too many Yetis nowadays in decks, but he's a very strong, valuable minion. He can trade well, and that's pretty unique in this deck.
Yeah, this deck has a few 1-ofs. It's got a 1 Harvest Golem. Manatite's pretty common as a 1-of. The 1 Reincarnate. So 1 Drake, Azure Drake that is. So okay, we're gonna see the Defender come down here. There's really no other choice that'll allow for a good trade. Okay, what does the Shaman do? You can Rockbiter then Alakir, and that does a significant amount of trading. Or you could reincarnate one of these minions to remove their taunt. So I would say, or you could Alakir and reincarnate Alakir, but that's not that great. I would say Rockbiter Alakir. Let's see. Rockbiter does 6. That means the Yeti kills the Drake.
Do you mean Flame Tongue?
I keep saying
he doesn't have Rockbiter
Flame Tongue. Excuse me. So
okay.
I meant Flame Tongue.
Right, but the issue is that he has to trade in the slime, I suppose, if he were to go for that. Oh, yeah. He's
reincarnate.
Oh, there's the reincarnate on the Alakir.
Okay.
Okay, so he just had to use a lot of his finisher to trade off onto his opponent, and although it was a really strong play, he has to figure out how to deal this remaining 15 damage against an opponent who has such good answers right now. I'm not sure that D2 went aggressive enough over these past few turns.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is going to be really tough.
I mean, right now, you have the option to Draxus and take out Alakir. There's not too many combos you're afraid of unless your opponent's running Doomhammer and has a second Rockbiter. But you don't need to Draxus it. You can wait until you get a little bit lower on health and then use it as a heal while you're throwing out threats in the meantime.
Yeah. Gets a double Soulfire. Wow. Is he gonna YOLO a Soulfire?
Oh man.
Wow. Wow. Okay, here it goes. Loses Leroy. Okay. Okay, now we have Ragnaros coming down.
Mm-hmm. With Draxus and Ragnaros in hand, you realize you have enough damage to finish off your opponent, and you're not too afraid about losing Leroy. And actually, Darkwony suddenly feels really, really good about this match, since he knows that Shaman lost a lot of his bursts once.
Yeah, and you know what? Even the Feral Spirits and the Harvest Golem are gonna get taken out by a Hellfire.
Yeah, this is currently a really good spot for Darkwony to be in, since he was able to stabilize so well after so many turns of just tapping, healing, taunting. He's now got his huge late game threats, which is exactly how Handlocks finish off the game. And Shaman is just running a little bit thin. He can throw out everything in his hand now, and just try to finish off his opponent next turn. If he can't do that, you're throwing out 3-mana minions against Ragnaros and against Draxus.
Yeah. And he's going to try to get the value on the Flame Tongue Totem, so he's going to save it for next turn. Unfortunately, I think we are going to see a Hellfire here.
The Hellfire would make a lot of sense.
Could Siphon Soul, too. He could Siphon Soul before that, just to make sure the Yeti goes down.
That's true. That's true.
And then
because,
that's 8 more damage to the Shaman that he can't get back, and the Shaman's left with very little. I think that's the best play here.
Well, the damage golem might take the Ragnaros hit.
Oh, that's true. That's true. He could faceless. Yeah, you know what? He could faceless
Rag
and then Hellfire. Yeah, that's really strong. And if he really wants to, he could then Soulfire, but he's going to lose Jiraxis probably.
Mm-hmm. So what that does, if you faceless Rag, Hellfire, Soulfire, is it gives you a 50% chance of winning the game?
Yes.
Oh no.
No, it's not. It's like 25. You have to double hit.
Okay. Oh wait, double hit against
the hero.
Oh yeah. So 25% chance. You have a
loses Jiraxis as we suspected, and 1 to the hero,
and
1 to the golem.
Oh, no Sniper Rog. No. Sniper Rag. Rog. Yeah. Everyone get mad at me for that one. But right now,
the Republic of Rags. That's what you're talking about.
Oh, let's.
Okay, he gets a Hex. That's going to clear 1, but it's not going to clear the other. He's going to have to bring out both a totem, regular totem, and a flame tongue to prevent rag here. So here we go. Regular totem, flame tongue totem, and hex. It's got to be. You have to give yourself the odds here.
Yeah. If you don't throw down flame, I mean, if you throw down flame tongue totem, you potentially lose your chance of winning. But you also hedge your bets against Ragnaros just finishing off right now. You take your chances of living from
a 1/1 totem's not that hard to clear. There are ways to clear it, like Mortal Coil. There's a lot of ways to clear it. You need to put out a second totem here.
Yeah, that's very true. And he's thinking about it. He's trying to think, is there any way that I can get away without it? But okay, so he is throwing out the Rockbiter to hit face so that he can maybe win next turn with that Searing Totem.
Or a Lightning Bolt. He's got one Lightning Bolt. There's an owl. Oh, owl the rag! Wow.
Oh man, you know Sniper Rag is really good if you just take away his gun and let him walk up. Oh, no.
That is 3-0. Darkwonyx actually coming up big against the Shaman, and that's going to leave a Warrior. Wow. That was a really well played game. I think there was a couple things I might have done differently, but those guys had very specific reasons, and it did allow each player to get into good position. I think kind of in that last 3 turns, D2 kind of... He didn't just run out of steam. He was forced to clear things, and he didn't get certain cards he needed. If he had the Hex a little bit earlier, it would have made a big difference. There's a lot of potentials here. Guys, we have at least one more game, but D2 does have the chance to come all the way back. Regardless of the outcome, we're going to have an interview with Darkwonyx after this, so please stick around after the matches. We have at least one more, potentially 4 more. So.
Yep, and I would love to see a couple more matches. I would love to see another deck from Darkwonyx besides this handlock. But right now, Darkwonyx is 6-0 for the night. And he's got to be feeling pretty good about himself. D2 has to be sweating a little bit since he has had a few chances to try and take out this handlock and hasn't been successful. He's just got to put his faith in Garrosh here, and hopefully he can answer with, like we talked about before, those super efficient answers that Control Warrior can bring out with the executes and shield slams, and closing out with large burst combos.
And he's got Armor Smith in here. He's got ways to armor up in addition, as you know, typically done with the shield block, and you've got that shield slam in there. So as long as he gets a pretty decent start, also has Brawl, which is... in a control matchup, I think that's fine early. You just save it for when it gets really, really bad. Although you would prefer to have your 1 and 2, excuse me, your 2 and 3 drops.
Yeah, if you're saying that there's 3 necessary cards for Control Warrior against handlock, those are going to be Shield Slam, Execute, and Brawl. Your removal here is just so necessary to keep those threats down. While you're trying to get a little bit of board control. Control Warrior definitely isn't a board control deck in that you build up many threats of your own early on. Yeah. But it's interesting to see a Kokron Elite in here. That's not something I've seen in many recent iterations of Warrior. It's a little bit more aggressive. It does give you presence on the board, and it does let you finish off your opponent a little bit earlier.
This is pretty common. We have hero powering and healing, and we have hero powering for healing. So it is 30 to 34. With a significant card advantage right now for the handlock. But we're going to have a Fiery War Axe. It will take out that Earthen Ring. And, yeah, it looks like we could see... No. I was thinking a Giant might come, but no, it did not.
Oh, he has to play a card. he doesn't know what to play, but he doesn't want to...
Hellfire? I mean, I guess... You could Hellfire. Yeah. Sure.
Hellfire is going to be pretty useless in this matchup. I mean, we know it could take a Kokron Elite. I don't think that Darkwonyx is expecting to see that. But, I mean, because you want to tap... Okay, now... Oh, he can coin out the Earthen Ring Farseer.
That was a good draw.
That is nice.
That was a really good draw.
He is so lucky. If he would have drawn like a Molten Giant or something, he would have had to go with a very inefficient coin or Hellfire or something to
Soulfire the face.
Hand. Oh my goodness, that would have been legendary. Soulfire his own face to get closer to a Molten Giant.
Oh, okay. Well, you have to at least have one in hand for that, buddy.
No, you don't. You don't do it when you have one in hand, because then you might discard the Molten Giant. You Soulfire your face in expectations of getting an earlier Molten Giant in the future. That is the next level thinking.
That's it, man. That's the next level right there. I like it. All right, guys. Okay. So we do in fact have. Yeah, we've got. Okay, so Harrison's coming down because he's not going to do much in this matchup. Except, wait. I'm sorry. Wait, D2 knows about Jiraxis.
But the thing is, if you're saving Harrison for the potential of like the late game Jiraxis, I don't think that it's gonna be worth it for you.
He had an Armor Smith and he had a Cruel Taskmaster. He had another play. He also had the Corcoran Elite. I don't know that he needed to play it there.
You might want to look for a little bit more efficiency from the Armor Smith with the potential explosion on your axe.
The Death Spite, yeah.
Yeah, from the Death Spite. So right now he has two options. He can either equip the axe, or he can go for the Acolyte, and we're going to go ahead and see the axe there, just trying to take out this Twilight Drake as soon as possible.
And next turn we are very likely to see Armor Smith and Acolyte of Pain come down, even maybe a Cruel Taskmaster, but we'll see how that goes. Well, he won't need it, because the Drake will be dead. Okay, we've got Lotheb coming down.
Oh, Sludge Belcher.
Sludge Belcher. Sorry. Wow.
Yeah. You are forgiven. You've been forgiven by me. The Twitch chat may be slightly more unforgiving, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, so, I really like saving Harrison for destroying Jiraxis' weapon, and I really think that's important. But okay, moving on.
So you say it's important, but the thing is, when you're at that late of game, if you draw say 7 cards from destroying Jiraxis' weapon, you might just deck yourself out.
Right.
Like very often, Control Warrior games can go to.
That's true. I'm used to doing that with a shaman.
Last card.
I'm not close to decking. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Right, and the big difference there is Doomhammer can come out much sooner than Jiraxis. It would have been fun. I would have enjoyed seeing it for sure, but I can understand why he'd just like to play a 5/4 threat.
Yeah.
Early on. Who knows? With Jiraxis in hand, Jiraxis can win handlock this matchup, since the one thing that Control Warrior can run out of is threats if he keeps getting answered, but Jiraxis can never run out of threats with that axe always pressuring and the 2 mana 6/6s.
Yeah. Okay. So okay, I think that you're about. Yeah, you're gonna start clearing here. This is time. I do like bringing down the Watcher. Yep. Drake takes out the armor first, and then the Ooze takes out the Acolyte. He could have silenced it, but it's not. There are better things to silence, like a Sylvanas or a Karn.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that silence could be much better used. You could deny a card with a card, but at that point, it's not a great trade for you, since you're spending a card which is going to die to pretty much a light gust of wind to deny a card draw, which in the end is a 1 for none. It feels like. So taking a look, I think he needs to get rid of this Cairn as quickly as possible, or it's going to start pressuring his health too bad. We could see a silence on the Cairn, maybe Soulfire Mortal Coil. He doesn't have the best turn right now, so tapping first is going to be pretty necessary, unless he goes with the Owl Siphon Soul, which probably is going to be unlikely, since Siphon Soul, you know that Control Warrior is running some large health minions with potentially Ragnaros. I've seen some Kel'Thuzads, I've seen Ysera's and Alexstras's. I think those are all going to be more important.
We're gonna see an. I was gonna say, I thought it was potentially gonna be an Owl Hellfire.
I expect to see Owls. If he Hellfires, how does he finish off the Cairn? That's my question.
I was thinking about, it would just be getting rid of the Karn, not the Bane. But yeah, I think it makes more sense to silence this and then taunt up.
He can spend his taunt first, since he doesn't want to discard it, and then I would expect to see the Soulfire, or else
it's gonna pass. All right. He's not afraid of being bursted down, which I guess is illegitimate.
All right.
So you've got quite a few options here. You can bring down the Armor Smith. You can bring down the Corcoran Elite. That will allow you to gain a significant amount of armor, which would make Shield Slam even better in the next few turns when he's going to need it. So I like that play. So, and yeah, you would obviously use the weapon to clear here. So Armor Smith coming down probably, and here it is.
You have some really nice trades right here. You're getting back some armor to keep yourself out of potential combo range in the future, since you know he is running the Leroy combination. Pretty soon that's going to be gone from most of these handlock decks, but I still think they're going to be pretty strong with
yeah, Arcane Golem will be
awesome
replacing
oh man. That's
actually the handlock I recently saw with an Arcane Golem Jiraxis handlock. That was pretty brutal.
Very interesting. I'm wondering if some people might go the route of just removing a finisher and just going for strict board control, and just finishing off of pure value with huge late game minions. I expect kind of the decks to go two different directions.
But Arcane Golem's still a board control. You can attack with it, you can power overwhelming it, you can Siphon Soul it. It does a lot of what Leroy does.
All right, that's very fair. And of course, you can get a larger combo if you run double power. I'm not sure we're going to see double power in future decks unless we see more pickups of Nerubian Eggs.
Yep, and I like the Hellfire into the Mortal Coil here. Getting back to this, I think that's perfectly fine. Drawing in a Siphon Soul or Soul Siphon. Okay, he's got another owl. Don't play that. Really?
He wasn't gonna play the owl.
Troll. I was just trolled.
Okay. Oh man, face my 2-1. How are you gonna beat this?
And then you play Sylvanas down and go, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so we do have the potential for Alexstrasza here. The problem is that allows the Molten to come out a little bit better next turn. That'll be a 3-cost Molten after hero powering.
When you're... That's true. So I think 15 is kind of a magic number there, since the hero power lets you double Molten. But still... Oh, he actually opts to damage himself as opposed to enabling that Molten Giant. I think a very, very heads-up play.
Wow.
The value Straza.
Wow.
He respects Handlock enough that he damages himself with Alexstrasza. He plays a very interesting Flame Imp instead of enabling that Molten Giant, which we know the Molten Giant wouldn't have been the worst thing ever, simply since he doesn't have double Molten Giant.
Yeah.
But double Molten Giant, like you said, lets you tap double Molten and Sun for your Protector.
Let's see if the tap brings him Molten, because it feels like he's gonna tap here. Rag. Okay. So
I would say Rag over Molten Giant, since Rag has the potential to take out Alexstrasza.
I was going to say Siphon Soul, but okay.
Oh, or is he going full bird? Why would you go full bird here?
Yeah, I think we're being trolled. I don't think
okay.
What? Wait, why are you playing that? Oh, is it going to be Power Overwhelming Shadow Flame? No, Siphon Soul. Come on. There we go. Thank you.
Power Overwhelming Shadow Flame would be 6 damage.
Yeah, it doesn't even clear it.
He's just trolling us. Like, I don't understand your thought process, but I respect you enough as a player that I'm going to try to analyze it.
No, yeah, it's just, I don't think that was coming down.
I think that's what it tends to be. Like, why they control us so well is because we know he's such a good player. We immediately don't think like, oh, that's a troll, but it's like, oh, that's so next level. I can't even imagine why he's doing it.
Well, I mean, there was often you do play a low attack minion to Power Overwhelming and Shadow Flame. It's just not an owl, not against Control Warrior.
Yeah. Right now he's counting his cards because he doesn't want to pull an IEM. RDU with the value, deal 2 damage to yourself, destroy a card from your deck. And Rag feels perfectly good here. And
it's the worst hero power since Priest on turn 2.
Oh yeah, I mean, but did you see the Warrior turn 10 with the big armor pass plays?
No.
Oh man, it's just that's how it feels playing. But it's weird because that's usually not how it feels playing Control Warrior once you're on turn 10. You usually have some threats to play. And he was really afraid of that Rag because he knows his opponent likely has Siphon Soul. Or wait, does he? Because he used one on Alexstrasza. I'm actually not sure why the Rag didn't come down on turn 10. I suppose just because it would have brought him down to 12 and it would have enabled the Molten Giant.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But then when do you play Rag as this warrior?
Now. Oh, as a warrior? Not when you're at 12. Okay, so Corcoran for 4, 5.
He could Sylvanas.
Yep, and Brawl. Sylvanas and Brawl. One way or another, you win. No, yeah. Wait, Sylvanas is 6, not 5.
Yes. You can't Sylvanas Brawl in one turn, or else it'd be amazing. So you just Sylvanas armor up and then lose to the 20.
To the Leroy.
Or yeah. Oh, he didn't have face.
No Rag necessary.
Soulfire.
GG, guys. That is the end of this week's invitation. We're going to have a great interview with Darkwony in just a moment. So please stick with us. That is a 4-0. And as we do that, guys, let me see if I can't get Darkwony on the line here. That was really strong play with the hand lock and to take out all 7 decks of his opponents.
Yeah, that was insane. Of course, he opened up with the Death Rattle Priest, which was amazingly strong to 3-0 Kisstafer, and then coming out with the handlock, which was, I thought, to potentially bait out some of the Priest counters before he fell back on the Priest, but he just went ahead and 4-0'd it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, let's see what he has to say here. Let's try and get him on the line here.
Yeah, definitely. Hello there.
Hello?
Yo, yo.
Hey, how's it going, Darkwony?
I need to put on my webcam shenanigans
I mean,
now.
you don't have to, but we want to see you, man. We want to see if you even broke a sweat with that 4-0 and 3-0. So congratulations. You just won yourself $325. That's a nice night's work. You took out 2 very strong DKMR pros that, in fact, nobody has taken out D2 in a best of 7 in this tournament. How are you feeling?
Really?
Yeah, really.
I feel kind of tired, but I feel pretty good other than that.
Okay. Talk us through a little bit about this, about tonight, how it went for you. I mean, we saw the games, but how is it from your perspective?
Well, I think I was kind of lucky in the first year with my Priest, because I went against 2 unfavorable matchups, both Priest against Miracle and Priest against Paladin. Both are unfavored, but I maybe drew like really shitty cards, or I was just like had a perfect start with Undertaker every single turn.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it snowballed from there.
Yeah.
And against D2, I think he also has some, like, I don't know how I won that handlock versus Hunter game, really.
Yeah.
It was like down to 1 health and then saved by the bells, Jiraxis.
Saved by the Jiraxis. Two games in a row saved by the Jiraxis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really nice series. So I understand why the Death Rattle Priest came out there. Very strong deck we've seen a lot of. What I'm curious is, what's your thought process going from the best of 5 to the best of 7? What makes you choose handlock after showing off a nice 3-0 with the Priest?
I didn't even bring my Priest in episode 7 because I thought like, okay, now they've seen enough of Priest. Now I gotta like have someone other deck, because I guess DTwo was like looking at the stream or something to scout every single card I had in my Priest deck before I played him. So I just like skipped that deck completely, because I have like so many other decks.
That's is that something you felt like from what you learned? Like you decided to just completely throw away a deck that was really working out well for you? Is that something you've done before, or is that something you do specifically here?
I think I've done it before.
Okay.
It's all about mind games. Like he expects me to, like the Priest went 3-0, so he's afraid of a Priest, so he maybe like has a mindset that Priest, how he's gonna start his matchup. For example, he started with
handlock, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't
it was the mirror match for the first
handlock versus handlock, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So you
because that handlock is good against Priest, for example.
Mm-hmm.
My mindset was like he would choose something that is good against Priests. So I'm just like gonna skip the Priest completely to start with. So I'm gonna start with something else. I was expecting he would start with like Miracle or something, because Miracle is also good against Priest, but that's why I choose handlock.
So it seems like you and your teammate are cursing DKMR, if I can be so bold, in that you're 2 of the 3 to be able to take out the 2 pros and collect the winnings. What's your guys' secret? You have 2-player team. There are a lot of teams with more players. You guys are well known, but there's certainly much more well-known players. They've all gone down. They've all gotten trounced, and you made it look easy. So what's your secret?
I don't know. I really don't know. Staying up late, play while tired, and have pretty unorthodox deck lists. I didn't get to choose, like I didn't get to show all my deck lists, sadly, because I had some fun deck list in there.
Yeah, I have the deck list here, and now that it is over, we can talk about it. Do you want to talk about any of those deck lists? I've got them here.
Is there any like specific deck list you're interested in knowing about?
There's one called Dark Elephants. There's one called Warcraft Frozen Dark. The Handyman we saw, of course, and Jaga or Yaga. Is that a silent J? What is that?
Jaga means chase in Swedish.
Okay.
In Sweden, so like it's just.
Okay, so
like,
which deck do you want to talk about? I've got the lists here. They're going to be up on 2P for everyone to talk about, but to see what deck do you want to talk about?
I think my like warrior build is kind of interesting because I have an A-bomb in it, which isn't like the most seen card in the whole like Hearthstone history, what I've known.
Which
So
card?
what prompts an abomination?
Abomination, yeah.
Yeah.
A-bomb.
Uh-huh.
I have an
Did you
A-bomb in my
just-
warrior deck.
Did you see an unstable ghoul and thought, wait a minute, I can do one better?
Nah,
I'm
that's
curious.
almost like 3 unstable goes in one. But the reason why I have it is because this metagame is so like diff rattle favored right now, and A-bomb kind of stomps all diff rattles in the game right now, and
I got you.
And even against Hunter. The key is like A-bomb is a key card against Hunter because Hunter doesn't have a single good way to remove A-bomb. If you think about it, like kill command is either 3 or 5 damage if they have a beast, and that usually means that beast dies.
Yeah.
Haunted Creeper is pretty useless. High main, like if he trades against the high main, it can even kill the other 2/2s that spawns afterwards. And just a beast in that matchup.
And you also have 2 unstable ghouls for the death rattle of sort of like a whirlwind, and you have Baron Geddon, which is incredibly strong in the Shaman matchup, as well as other different aggressive matchups. You have an incredible amount of damage here. Wow.
Yeah, it's like this metagame is so filled with just tempos, like kind of Undertaker build decks. So if you just have AoE damage against everything, it's kind of easy to clear the board. And once you clear the board against,
is this meant to do with Priest?
It's Priest, Shamans, everything that runs Death Rattle.
Wow.
Like Undertakers in general.
Wow. Okay, guys, you heard it here. The Warrior Craft Frozen Dark. We'll get this deck list up, but effectively it's 2 Executes, 2 Shield Slam, 2 Fiery War Axe, 1 Slam, 2 Armor Smith, 2 Cruel Taskmaster, 2 Unstable Ghoul, 2 Shield Block, 2 Acolytes, 1 Death Spite, 1 Brawl, 1 A-Bomb, 1 Faceless, Lothab, 2 Belchers, 1 Sylvanas, 1 Gorehowl, Baron, Grommish, Ragnaros, Alexstrasza. There it is. That's the deck. Build it. Torment people with it. Okay, Darkwony, do you want to talk a little bit about what your expectations were coming into this tournament?
I thought I'd get shit stomped because I was so damn tired. Because I slept for like 3 hours last night.
So what you're saying is there's no pressure on you. There's no pressure whatsoever.
Yeah, no pressure. I just went YOLO. I took like I used my phone and played some Mozart while playing, and I just like went YOLO from there.
Wow.
Mozart always helps.
I felt like there were a couple games where it was incredibly close, and you were able to, versus the Shaman, versus Handlock, you were always able to sort of find solutions. Are you the kind of player where, like where you need a Jiraxis, let's say, to stay alive, and you're waiting on a draw, in this case you already had it, do you play to win in that regard? Like, do you just go aggressive when you need to finish it off, expecting you could potentially lose? Or do you try to play safe in certain matchups? Like, what's your mindset in different matchups?
Usually try to recognize exactly what cards and what decks they are playing, so I know like how much burst potential they have, and knowing when you can go aggressive or play defensive. For example, against Priest, Sandlock, you always want to play defensive because they run out of steam quicker than you do. Against the Shaman that he played, it was like an interesting Shaman, but I figured out pretty early was it like kind of Death Rattle Shaman. I wouldn't be expected if he had like Baron Ribbon there as well in that deck, and Rebirth I saw later on. So I thought like he doesn't have that much burst damage in that deck because it's pretty controlish. So I wasn't maybe he had Doom Hammer and like double Rockbiter. I'm not sure if he had Doom Hammer or not.
He did. He had Doom Hammer and Rockbiter. Yeah.
I did that. Yeah, that was his only burst with Alakir.
No, he had Alakir, not Doom Hammer. Excuse me. It was a different Shaman from a different deck. Yeah. Oh no, I'm right. I'm sorry. I'm going back. Yes, he had it. So he had multiple bursts. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, both. Okay. Yeah. That was like the only thing that I was afraid of him using, but he used both Rockbiter pretty early, so I figured he couldn't burst me down at the end, so I went like real aggressive with the double rag and Hellfire, Soulfire play, just 50-50 for the win.
There was a a turn where you played a giant and then you put down an earthen ring instead of taunting it up, and it was on your turn 5 or 6, and it was his turn 6 next. Was that like a heads-up play to deal with a potential Black Knight, or was that just that you didn't feel the need to taunt at that time, so you thought healing was more important?
I didn't really need to taunt it at all. I wanted the Earthen Ring because it fit the mana curve better, as well as it can trade better with his minions that he's gonna play. Yeah. Because my thought was like, okay, I play Giant and an Earthen Ring, and I can even Shadow Flame my Earthen Ring if it plays like another Feral Spirit or whatever, and I can't do that.
Okay. So the extra point of damage with all of its potential combinations is really what you're looking for. Yeah,
and you also want to, like, every single turn you want to play with your curve.
Of course, yeah, and you utilized all your mana. That's really interesting. Do you have any questions, Disciple?
No, I can't say I have any questions. I just wanted to say congratulations, Darkwony. That was a really excellent series. It was really fun to cast. I really enjoyed seeing you come out strong, especially since these last 2 weeks. DKMR has swept. They've won every best of 5 and best of 7 in the 2 weeks I've been here. So this is the first time seeing a challenger not only win the first one, but then bring it all the way through. So great job, especially on Little Sleep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. And for those of you again, one more time, guys, thank you all for watching. As I mentioned, DKMR picks their decks ahead of time. Darkwony, or the challenger, has an opportunity to change their decks, and he did. He completely changed all of his decks from the best of 7 to the best of 5 to the best of 7. Very smart play, great preparation. Darkwony, do you want to thank anybody? Give any shout outs? Yeah.
Oh my god, this is the hard part. When I'm so tired and I gotta remember all the sponsors. But thank you, Curse Gaming. Thank you to Astro, Energems, Cooler Master, Alienware. I think that's the most important ones. Thank you to all my fans. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook. You can play my decks if you want, because they're pretty interesting. And thank you to DKMR for having me, and thank you guys for casting this event.
Yeah, you're welcome. Disciple,
did I nail it?
Oh, you nailed it in my book, but I'm not on 3 hours of sleep, so you know it's fine. Disciple, any last words before I give a kind of final sign off?
Yeah, just thank you to DKMR and Hearth2P for having me out here. I love guest casting. Thank you to Darkwony, to Kisstafer, and to DTwo for putting on a really awesome show for us. And if you guys want to check me out, I stream. I also have a Facebook and Twitter. It's all at Disciple Games. And I'd love to come in again. It was a really great time, and thanks.
Yeah, there's a lot of great tournaments coming out, guys, so please keep your eye on all of them. This one in particular shows players of the caliber of Darkwony, and a really interesting ability. He had the potential to show 7 different decks tonight, and those decks are going to be available on 2P on their website tomorrow. And yeah, so also, please, I want to say thank you to DKMR, to DTwo, to Kisstafer, for all the other players as well. Rokisha helping with the overlays, Poach, the guy behind the guy, captain of the team and head of the team. Darkwony for coming on, and for Curse for bringing him on. And thank you to all of you for watching. We really appreciate it. We're still working on certain things, always kind of trying to improve. So we really appreciate your feedback. The trolls, we love it. Keep trolling us, keep coming out. It's fantastic. And if you guys have any interest... Oh, go for it.
I have one more. I noticed, like, at the end, I rewatched the last game, the Warriors Handlock, and you were saying that I was trolling with my owl.
Yeah.
During that whole game.
Yeah.
I wasn't really trolling, because I had 1 damage of lethal almost the whole game at the end, because of Leroy, like Leroy, Overwhelming, Soulfire, and Hellfire. It was 17 damage, and he had 18 damage.
The first turn you were going to play it on an empty board on turn, it was like, what is it, 3 or something? It was like turn 4 or something. You hovered over that. Disciple, what turn was that? It was like...
I can't say, but I guess...
to play something.
Yeah, but come on! You know there's silence. You know there's things that need to be silenced in there.
Only
that's exactly what I said.
Sylvanas and Karn, yeah.
We can never really say you're trolling us, because you're such a good player that you exactly see, wait, what if he just takes it out? He doesn't expect, the 2 damage to be meaningful, and then that makes lethal for me. Alright, Ironbeak Owl MVP.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my point at the end. Just playing the owl, hopefully he hits the owl with the weapon and play something for 9 mana, or use all his mana, and then just finish him off.
Sure, I could see towards the very end, absolutely. That does make some sense with your combo into lethal. Yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you guys all again for watching. You can check this out on YouTube, or if you're on YouTube watching it now, you can come and check us out live every week. Next week, we have Nimsh from Cloud9. Great player, a lot of fun, great personality. We'll have an interview with him as well, I'm sure. And this is all at twitch.tv/2p_entertainment. Follow them. And thank you guys all again. We will see you next week and every week for the DKMR Invitational. We are out.